It is your PrisonPlanet.tv memberships that fund so much of what we do here on this operation. And then we're more than happy for the TV show after it's aired live, then be leaked out onto the web to tens of millions of people. That's our goal. Well, the jury in the Zimmerman Martin case, murder trial, may go to deliberations as early as today. And you've got the new Black Panther Party leader coming out saying, go into white areas and burn down all their houses and basically kill everybody. And he's not being arrested, which guarantees him as a federal provocateur, probably under the control of the Justice Department, who day one has been caught organizing the demonstrations and the calls for violence if George Zimmerman is not found guilty. Obviously, ladies and gentlemen, there are some forces in the White House through the lifelong Democrat judge who is trying to get him convicted that do want to see Zimmerman go to jail. But at the same time, there's also forces from the White House. This is usually how it works. There's different camps that are trying to get a race war going in this nation so they can then bring Homeland Security out to quell the disorder as a pretext to have Americans accept more and more tyranny and further divide the country. And you saw massive riots, of course, the LA riots, over the situation with the Rodney King verdict. This is truly disgusting. While we have all these serious issues going on, massive unemployment, deindustrialization, all of this incredible corruption happening, foreign banks looting us to the tune of $85 billion a month, and all anyone wants to talk about, and I don't blame them, it's very interesting, is the Zimmerman trial. So we're going to be discussing that, and in about 40 minutes, Larry Pinkney, who is the head of information nationwide, worldwide, of the real Black Panther Party, and who they've tried to put in prison over and over again on trumped-up garbage, and that's even been declassified with COINTELPRO. He is going to be popping in the last 20 minutes of this hour to give us his take on it. I don't know what his take is, but he's a really smart guy. He's been here before. We interviewed him for Obama Deception 2. I've interviewed him in the last decade quite a few times on air. So I would imagine that he'll basically have the same take I have. But this is unprecedented what's going on. And just like the white supremacist Hal Turner would call for violence and for whites to attack minorities and would call for attacks on judges, I said, that guy's a Fed, or he wouldn't be able to do that year after year. And finally he got hacked. It got released that he was a high-level FBI national security asset. So then they burned their own asset and sent him to prison for threatening state judges. The FBI came to trial. This is in the Chicago Tribune, by the way, and said, yeah, it's true, national security, he works for us. Still he got prosecuted and went to jail. Even though the FBI came in and said, yeah, here's the national security letter. He was a highest-level national security asset. And then they talked to the judge privately and still sent Turner to prison. Now, if you're informed, I said for a decade on air that he was a Fed. I mean, that's like saying a duck is a duck swimming around at the local park, you know, in a pond. I mean, it's not hard. Or the sun's in the sky. There's the sun. He would constantly say that I worked for Israel. He would constantly say that I, was blah, 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 that I needed to be dealt with when none of that was true. I mean, I know a Fed when I see one. And, of course, he was a Fed. And I'm telling you, these Black Panther guys, the new Black Panther Party, that's just basically like a black supremacist group, probably doesn't work for the FBI, because I've learned the different groups. They work directly for the White House and directly for probably a group like the Ford Foundation or Southern Poverty Law Center, if I had to guess from past operations we've seen. somebody this dangerous and that's getting away with this? Well, it's like the Southern Poverty Law Center was running Elohim City that McVeigh was at. That came out in court documents. I mean, this guy's super high-level operative. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Friday, the 12th day of July, 2013. I'll also be back this Sunday, 4 to 6 p.m. Central. And, of course, Monday we'll have live continued coverage of whatever happens with the Zimmerman, Trayvon Martin murder case out in Florida. The judge is a Democratic Party operative. That's on record. We'll go over those articles today. The judge is trying to prejudice the jury every way she can and telling them they can get a manslaughter instead of the more serious charge. Because I believe evidence shows the jury is going to do the right thing and acquit Mr. Zimmerman. There is political pressure to convict him for race relations. So I guess getting rid of justice means it will help, quote, race relations. No, this is really about demonizing the right to self-defense. And I've said this about 100 times. I think Zimmerman was stupid to follow Trayvon Martin around, and I think Trayvon Martin, from all the evidence, was dumb as well to jump on top of him and start slamming his head into the concrete. But when somebody walks up to you with a gun in their hand and says, "What are you doing?" I mean, when I was 17, 18 years old, I would have definitely mouthed off to the person. And again, that's why Zimmerman was older. He should have been more intelligent about the fact to not go following somebody around who you think is suspicious unless they're on your property. And still, I would just open the door and say, "Get off my property." Because I don't want to just shoot somebody and have to deal with all the repercussions from it. So I think Zimmerman was in the wrong and negligent in his behavior, but that does not deserve a manslaughter or a higher charge of murder. It certainly wasn't premeditated. He certainly was begging for his life, being brutally assaulted, having his head driven into the concrete. And so I'm done talking about that. This is a totally political diversion. I'm done talking about what happened there with the case. The evidence is overwhelming. This is a witch hunt. And the White House and Obama from day one has made it racial, saying Trayvon looks like the son I never had, and invoking that. And the Justice Department, on record, they're spending thousands of dollars a day last year with operatives, and that's just what we know about, on the ground, trying to drum up demonstrations and trying to make it a Democrat-Republican, white versus black issue. The Democratic Party has always been about race politics. They are the experts in it. They ran much of the country, not just the South, but the West and the North in many areas. They were the dominant party based on race. And then when the demographics swung and they saw that change coming, because mainly white Christians would not be part of segregation and racism anymore. Whites were 80% of the population. They went with that and then started race politics from the other perspective. And that's why they fund the Hispanic Ku Klux Klan groups of Mecha and La Raza and the new Black Panther Party and all the rest of it. And we have the former head of the Black Panthers communications, one of the first people, when it was first founded, Larry Pinkney will be joining us. So the real Black Panther Party that the feds came in and took over, and the feds put out fake racist comic books showing black folks killing white police officers and things to then demonize the group. We have some of those articles up on Infowars.com today to then get rid of a real liberation group and bring in the synthetic fake one, which is the new Black Panther Party. And let me get to that right now before I get to the latest on the case. Wayne Madsen will be joining us today in studio, formerly with the NSA. And Wayne really opened up to me last night about some of the stuff he's been involved in. He's more than just somebody that worked at the NSA. Very interesting international freelance journalist spy, I guess you could call it. He was telling me about infiltrating countries with British intelligence and stuff last night. was pretty wild. Everything he's talked about, by the way, and has been demonized for months later, years later, or weeks later, in the last few months, as then comes out. CNN was demonizing him on Sunday with their stupid Reliable Sources show, run by a bunch of White House operatives, saying, oh, it's ridiculous. He says that Europe works for the U.S. in spying, and then it all comes out and is confirmed. It's ridiculous. We're tapping the transatlantic cable, and then that all comes out the next day. It's ridiculous. They were countering stuff he'd said 2 weeks before on my show. And just on and on and on. They're like, it's ridiculous. He says the sun comes up. So that's going to be coming up. And then James O'Keefe has got a new book out. You know, they head up the Veritas Project, which really is the Bible, from my view, on how to create your own activist media organization that'll really damage the New World Order. And because they're mafia in your town, in your state, globalist, Agenda 21, Democratic Party especially, they are just down and dirty gangsters. And the book is available at InfowarsStore.com. It's Breakthrough. And let me tell you, I've been doing this longer than these guys have been doing it, but I don't do it as well as they do. And let me tell you, you can look at We Are Change, you can look at Breakthrough, you can look at the work I've done as an activist journalist, and investigative journalism. I'm telling you, folks, this is the book to get. People ask me all day, how do I do this? How do I do that? You want to wage war legally and lawfully in InfoWar? There's a reason they're trying to ban journalism in this country and cameras and research, and the reason they are so scared of leakers and government exposing corruption, because really an old-fashioned muckraking journalist is a spy for the people. That's what it is. The stuff the CIA and people do that they make so sexy and so avant-garde and, oh my gosh, it's James Bond, that's not really how it is. It's mainly Wayne Madsen shuffling around, in his sports jacket, infiltrating things and asking questions and talking to whistleblowers, going into places with hidden cameras. That's what real human intelligence spycraft is against the globalist. And that's what they're afraid of, because they're committing crimes everywhere. And all you've got to do is learn the basics of this and go engage them. I don't care if it's the local zoning board. I don't care if it's the local corrupt cops. I don't care what it is. They are scared to death, and they should be. Because if you go and investigate your government, here's an example. If the cops are changing people's tires in your town and friendly and nice and waving at you and really going after criminals when your house gets broken into, you can go to the bar they're at and sit there and listen in on things, and nothing's going to be going on. They're going to be talking about politics and saving America. You got cops bugging their eyes out at you, searching people's cars without warrants, acting arrogant, not responding to crimes. You go to the local cop bar or whatever, they're going to be talking about whores they're running, drugs they're dealing, people they're killing. And look, you can get killed doing this. Let me just tell you, O'Keefe, they've tried to set up, they've gone after him, everything else. But if you really want to save America, I'm telling you, folks, I have brought down, you can look it up, all sorts of people in the zoning department, the health department, the police department, the city. Investigations I've done have sent people to prison over and over again. And it's almost instantaneous. I start investigating day one and use basic spy tactics, police tactics, whatever you want to call it. I walk into a board meeting and I go, I know you're covering up and that you've committed crimes. I don't even address anybody individually, so there's no libel. And then I look at who freaks out, and then I corner them while I'm recording them. That's why mafia-run states have laws against this, so check your local laws. And I say, I've got the info on you. And then they break down right there, just like Columbo, you've got them. Anyways, I don't want to go off into a whole jag about this. I've got the Zimmerman stuff I want to cover and what's happening with the Black Panthers. The point is we're going to be talking about that with James O'Keefe. And a lot of times just putting these people on notice. Hey, Mayor, if you don't stop putting sodium fluoride in the water, here's the Harvard report giving us cancer and brain damage, I'm going to look at donations you're getting specifically from the chemical company that you keep getting this from. Let me ask you a question, Mayor. Do you filter your water at home? And then you don't have to go spy on the mayor to show that he's got a water filter when he lies. You find out where his wife shops or her husband shops, and you walk over and you go, hey, I'm from a water filtration company. Do you want to replace that water filter? I'm a salesman. Here's my card. And maybe even sell water filters online. It's a good business. While you're at it, I mean, these are just ideas, and have them say, oh, yes, well, no, we have a really good system. Oh, really? Then you go back next week to the mayor's office, at the county commission office or whatever it is, the public meeting. You go, Mayor, I talked to your wife last week. You've got a water filtration system. And see, it's the fact that you're investigating them. They will then take the fluoride out of the water. I mean, look, folks, before we get to a shooting revolution with these people, we got to get in their space. You notice they're always getting in our space? Government now wants to touch you, wants to make you answer questions, wants to bureaucratically come and say, do A, B, and C that's unconstitutional. They're training you. Well, we need to go back and train them. And I am, in the next few weeks, going to go out and come up to police cars and say, hi, I'm a citizen out here investigating corruption. Mind if I search your vehicle? And the cops will say, what are you, impersonating a police officer? Oh, nice try to set me up. No, just like you, randomly color of law, pull people over in a fraudulent stop, want to search your vehicle. I didn't stop you. I'm just asking, mind if I search? Well, that's ridiculous. Give me your info. Oh, I see. It's ridiculous that I want to search you without a warrant, but it's not ridiculous when you want to. Is that right? Because you're better than me? Because I'm a suspect and you're not? Huh? Is that why? I just want to live in America. All right, Alex Jones, your host here, back live. We're going to have former real Black Panther, original Black Panther Party head of communications, Minister of Communications, Larry Pinkney, on to talk about the new Black Panther Party that says unrest all over America if Zimmerman acquitted. And they go on to talk about cutting crackers' heads off and putting them in book bags. Quote being attributed to the new Black Panther Party leader, Shamir Shabazz, by numerous internet sites states, this time we're going to do it right. This time we're not burning down our communities. And he said stuff like this before in public. This time we're going out to Whitey's suburbs and burning down his community. And remember, Michael Moore said whites are buying guns because they're racist to protect themselves. I thought everybody was buying guns to protect themselves. I don't think that will go too well, except in like Chicago and New York and a few places where the government's taking the guns and everybody's victims. I couldn't imagine if anybody tried to come into neighborhoods in, say, Texas and burn things down. It would not go well. That's all. Because I'm sorry, my guns haven't been turned in. The corrupt government or Black Panther groups working for the Justice Department aren't going to just be able to cut my head off so easy. Though I should come out because all whites are racist and inherently bad and cut my own head off. Continuing here, this time we're doing it right. This time we're not burning down our communities. This time we're going out to Whitey's suburbs and burning down his entire community. We're going to make Whitey feel the pain. This appears to be no primary evidence that Shabazz actually made that statement, although he has previously made vile threats about murdering white people. Yeah, it sounds like what he says. According to the group's Twitter feed, so this is their official Twitter feed, engaged in no unlawful activity in response to the verdict. But the organization also states, we can't and won't try to control the general dissatisfied population for sure. We are organizing. The group is also planning rallies and street maneuvers, but refuses to provide details. And you've got these guys out front polling places with, baseball bats and clubs, so no one stops black people from voting. Like in the middle of a mainly black city, you're going to have white guys there stopping people voting. I mean, and again, this is actually meant to invoke race. If you listen to what these guys say and the way they behave, it's the exact kind of stuff you'd hear from like the Klan 100 years ago. But see, it's called reverse racism, as if racism could only come from white people. It's tribalism, folks. In Africa, you'll have one black group killing the other black group, or you'd have one Scottish clan killing the other Scottish clan of 700 years ago or 1,000 years ago. Or we all know the history of it. People look for reasons to get into gangs and to be in gang psychology. And it's loser psychology, in my view, and it's how the power structure manipulates people. For the record, whatever God moves black people to do after the verdict, I can never be called a riot. It's called a rebellion on the Twitter feed from the new Black Panther Party. Another tweet, the group comments that there is a high chance of rebellion across the nation if Zimmerman is acquitted on all charges. In addition to another message which states, if Zimmerman is acquitted, there is likely to be unrest all over America. It would be way beyond the capacity of the new Black Panther Party. Yeah, but it just takes groups calling for it. And then when the police come out and say, please don't have any violence, the Time magazine comes out yesterday and says it's racist. Racist, folks. When you look at the police department of the area of Florida, I was looking at the numbers, like half the people on it are Hispanic, and then a large portion are black. The whites are already a minority in most areas of this country. And will be a total minority, what is it, in 5 years? But it still doesn't matter. It's as if the evil only emanates out of white people. And it's just crazy to see Time magazine, again, mainly white people, it's always white authors, trying to stir up racial divide because they sit there and play off of it. When you turn on MSNBC, it's amazing, the race baiting that goes on. And how the president came out and said, he looks like my son, and then sent the Justice Department down there secretly. But this came out, though, and spent massive amounts of money on record funding groups to organize demonstrations. And then we've already had stores ransacked and things last year over this. This is so amazing, ladies and gentlemen. And the media showing images of Trayvon when he's 12, not when he's 17, with the grill and trying to make the gangster face. And the fact that his mother sent him to his dad because of all the trouble he was getting into and the burglary tools. And you see, there's a culture in America because we've become a prison state of where it's tough to be a thug. It's tough to be a gangster. Across the board, black, white, Hispanic, it's everywhere. And kids get bullied into joining gangs at school. And then you get sent to juvenile for almost no reason. And then once you're there, you basically are forced to join a gang. That's the culture. It's so disgusting to see this happening. And the police themselves are being turned into a gang. We're going to look at a new app when we come back that helps you tattle on your neighbor's guns. All right, coming up in about 7-8 minutes, we're going to have Larry Pinkney, a real Black Panther, a real humanitarian, joining us to talk about, well, I talked to him privately while he was here about how the new Black Panther Party, no doubt, is federally handled. And some of its members are reportedly calling for basically racially organized attacks. And I've seen members of the new Black Panther Party on Fox television actually saying, don't mug in the black community, go mug in the white community. Just absolutely the opposite of what Martin Luther King talked about, judging people by the character of their deeds and what they stood for, not by what color they are. But this is the racial politics the globalists want to engage in. And again, I'm on record saying that I believe what Zimmerman did was stupid and negligent to go following somebody around with a gun. But the way the media has hyped this, and they're now trying to not give him a fair trial, is another travesty of justice. And they're playing this out to create division. We're going to be going over the divide and conquer race politics with Larry Pinkney coming up here in just a few minutes. I haven't gotten into Janet Napolitano to head the California college system, where she gets triple the money she gets as head of Homeland Security right now. I will not miss the tyrant that heads up Homeland Security, but I will assure you things will not get better with her leaving. And in a way, it's bad that a new face will be there because she's so loathed as Big Sis that it's a very effective tool to expose Homeland Security's activities by pointing out the caricature of kind of a Hermann Goering in drag that she has become. So we're going to be talking about Ms. Napolitano. And, of course, the real intel I've got is it was all the sexual stuff going on at the Justice Department and at the Homeland Security and the settlements they're doing with the men. They're the group of women that run things up there, if you can call them women. And so we're going to be breaking all of that down as well. But they are fleeing the sinking ship that is the rat-infested vermin command base that is the District of Criminals that is hoping that its paramilitary force is going to allow it to continue to loot this country. and that is hoping that division is going to help them divide us so we don't go after the real globalists that have hijacked this country. I'm telling you, they're in deep trouble, and they have a chance of being defeated if we unify around liberty and the Bill of Rights and Constitution and human justice. Now, I briefly wanted to get Leanne McAdoo, one of our great reporters here at Infowars on the radio and also on the TV, on because tonight she's going to have an in-depth piece on an Adon Salazar article that she worked on with him, dealing with all these new apps coming out to tattle on your neighbor if they leave their lights on, to tattle on your neighbor if they're not watering on the wrong day, to tattle on your neighbor if they're not composting properly, to tattle, the green police. Well, now they have apps the government's out there promoting that allow you to report guns. You've seen the billboards up in the last decade that say, report illegal guns. They have them in Texas, and it shows a revolver or a shotgun. Those aren't illegal. I mean, there's only a few cities like D.C., New York, where they're illegal, and that's unconstitutional, the Supreme Court said 5 years ago in D.C. versus Heller. So, but it creates the illusion that they're illegal and will have false reports made. And folks, I see it even in Texas. You put your deer rifle on your truck, even in semi-rural areas, and somebody who doesn't understand that it's legal calls the cops, they still pull you over and freak out and sometimes take the gun because it's like a holy sacrament in the tattletale world to always respond to their fake complaints, their Stasi complaints. But then your car gets stolen, your house gets broken into, and the police are like, sorry, we can't come out. I've had my car stolen in Austin and in Dallas, and the police wouldn't come out till I hung the phone up in Dallas one time, and the cops show up 5 minutes later, push their way into the apartment. When I opened the door, this is back when I was younger and you didn't know how to respond, started searching things going, why'd you hang up 911? Well, you said you couldn't help me. You weren't given permission yet. And I was on the phone like 10 minutes, so you can't help me? If they ever find the car, this is where I call to see if they tow truck it in, and then I'll be charged for the tow trucking. And sure enough, they found it all chopped, the engine taken out, parts of it, the wheels. And I was like, okay, whatever, wasn't even rude, just hung up. Boom, 5 minutes later, cops are there. So here to briefly talk about what's coming up tonight on the Nightly News, 7 o'clock Central, is Leanne McAdoo. Leanne, tell us about this story.
Well, it's the United Stasi of America. They strike again with this app is going to crowdsource your neighbors to build a de facto gun registry. So, and it's not just, illegal guns. It's they want all the guns. Anyone who they think is a first-time gun owner who might not be familiar with the basic rules of gun safety.
So they want to create fake cases, send cops out. This is incredible. This is an anti-gun Stasi.
Yeah, that's their mission, is to influence the national policy with this app. It says it right there on their website.
To create an anti-gun witch, I saw a witch.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe we can start throwing gun owners into the water with lead weights on them, and if they drowned, it proves they weren't a witch. But if they float, we burn them.
Right. Well, the Gestapo now, they have a new tool. It's not just word-of-mouth tattletaling. Now they have this app that you can basically flag any home where it's a first-time gun owner. If someone has an NRA bumper sticker, they might not be that bad, but they're probably also, very anti-government.
Yeah, so it actually says if they have that, go ahead and report them.
Yeah, it says if they have an NRA bumper sticker, they may already be kind of letting you know that they have a gun on the property, but you might want to go ahead and flag it just as a warning to others. So it's just...
This is terroristic in my view. They've lost lawsuits over this, and newspapers have gotten in a lot of trouble when they publish concealed carry holders' home addresses, which is like, hey, here's the place to go rob if you want guns. Like people putting that on Facebook so they know where to come rob. And so there's been lawsuits over this. And you're saying on the app page, because I read your article with Adon, but on their page, they actually say flag in a public app system where the guns are at.
Exactly, and it says to get really descriptive on what you think the person's mental health is. If you think they are someone who has a mental issue, it says be descriptive and mark it and flag it. And there's no opt-out option. You can't challenge an erroneous marking. It's just someone can flag your spot. But it says if you know that the person's a criminal or if there's, gangster stuff going on, you shouldn't mark it.
Oh, no, because that's probably being run by ACORN.
Well, it's because...
Probably being run by Obama, so you don't... yeah, exactly.
You can't go mark 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, you know what I mean? Or all the new IRS people with their new guns. Yeah,
that congressman was trying to get a tour to go, why are they buying billions of bullets? And he walks into the training center, and it's IRS agents with M16s.
Yeah.
Literally shooting targets of women and children.
Well,
I mean, wow. Don't mark the criminals, though.
because they're not going to pay their taxes, so they got
to see, when I saw this story and went to their site, and I couldn't even believe it. It's like it's satire, but it's not satire. Tell people about the group.
Well, the group there, it's the gun geomarker. They have a few other apps out, but they're useless.
And we'll put the article on screen for folks there that are watching us on TV. Its new app allows its users to tattle on gun owners. And it says app's website encourages users to report gun owners who hold anti-government political views.
Exactly.
I mean, this is the citizen Stasi.
Yes.
Ahead of them, staging whatever they stage and coming after us. My goodness. It says the gun geomarker app created by a group called the Walking Tools Laboratory and available through the Google Play Android Marketplace says marking dangerous sites on the app map will let you and others be aware of the risk in your neighborhood. People have asked me to do an app like this, Leanne, but, you know, about globalists or New World Order people, but I won't do it because they'll put innocent people on there. And I'm not going to organize some deal. I mean, I think legally and lawfully, you really can't do this. We could create something where we vet it's a globalist, and then I put my name on it. But still, that'd be a huge responsibility. They have a name for this. This is called ultra-dangerous witch hunt.
Yeah.
High-tech lynching. Oh, man, this is creepy. Wow. I mean, people got to read the rest of the article. This should be national news. Any other comments on this? You're going to be covering it more tonight on the Nightly News?
I'll be having a full report on this tonight on the Infowars Nightly News. And, yeah, I don't think it's going to do very well. It's already got over 1,000, 2,000 comments from people saying this is ridiculous. I hope you get sued. If you ever put my information up there, you know, I'm going to take you down. So they've been on Fox News, like, defending, you know, we're just trying to save kids, and this is, but it's not. It says right there on their website, they want to change national policy with this app.
Well, that's why they put billboards up. I've been all over the country that everybody's seen them. I've done reports and shot video where it shows a revolver. Last time I saw one was a couple years ago in Galveston. I took a shot of it, I think tweeted it. But it says, report illegal guns.
Yeah.
And I had a carpet cleaner in my house 15 years ago who saw a shotgun. I didn't have kids then, you know, on the wall in a gun rack. And he started freaking out because it was a black pump, like $300 at the time, Winchester Defender. And he saw it, started going, I can't, I gotta, and left. And I'm like, you're not calling the cops on me. And then I called the place. Is he calling the cops? Well, sir, he called us. We understand, but he isn't comfortable cleaning your house. And I was like, okay, I mean, it's a witch hunt, man.
Yeah, this is basically like the same thing that they're doing with pedophiles. And they're basically equating gun owners with building a database.
Yeah, but if you had a database saying, I think this guy looked weird at my kid while he was watering his lawn, you know, maybe the guy's having a pain in their head or something. You know, there's been so many times back when I lived near neighbors that I'd be in the yard watering something, talking to myself, or like picking my nose or whatever, and I'd look up and the neighbor's looking at me. I mean, what, I look weird? Now they're going to like, I think he's a pervert or something. You know, he's got mustard
Exactly.
stain.
Yeah, that's what this whole thing is about, based on user feelings about the situation. That's it. It's like, do you think this person's able to...
That's how it was in the Soviet Union. I think you might be anti-communist. Well, 2 years in a labor camp. That'll teach you.
Exactly.
By the way, the Army manual says they now have re-education centers. That's the thing why I freak out on here, Leanne. This stuff, look at these FBI reports. Some are going to our guest, Larry Pinkney, till a little bit in the next hour. He's on the line now via video Skype. They have hundreds of these every year they put out. Communities Against Terrorism. And it says using cash to buy coffee, political indicators of terrorist activities and rental properties, talks to renters, ask questions. They say in here, are nice to police. That's why I've walked up to cops. Hey, how you doing, guys? And they'll go, why are you talking to me?
Yes.
We're not supposed to talk to slaves.
I've noticed that.
That's just paying for your morning coffee with cash, a potential terrorist activity. By the way, this is not Monty Python, folks. I mean, there's hundreds of these. We wrote articles about them a few days ago. It's the people that make frequent references to the U.S. Constitution.
Yeah. Yeah, they're terrorists. If you believe in liberty, it's terror.
But why do they say, if there really are, like if you actually see them shooting people or you actually see them dealing drugs, do not mark them?
Well, that's just one of the flaws in the app. It only lets you tag a place that you are physically standing at the location. So you have to be able to stand there for up to a minute and mark the place and say, oh.
Steve Quayle was told... he was told, the radio host, author, 2 years before that they were going to mark our doors so that they could raid people's houses, and they were marking it for gun owners. And everybody freaked out on him. And you know what? It turned out that was true. So, see, and then he says all this other stuff, and I'm like, is the rest of it true? Yeah, it's like, it just gets weirder. It's like when I heard they have fetal tissue in Pepsi. I'm like, that's not true.
Yeah, that's...
And then it's true. Yeah, I mean, it's like, what is going on here? It's like, we are living in Bizarro world. When's Bizarro going to fly by? I mean, it's like...
I know, we just need Bizarro on the green screen.
Well, listen, Leanne, you're going to be covering this in depth tonight, Nightly News, 7 o'clock Central. Anything else you want to add?
Absolutely. Just thanks for having me, and I guess everyone go and review the app.
Don't tag me the fact that we have concealed carry guys that work at the office.
We can't tag the Department of Homeland Security and the IRS and all that because we're not physically there. So we want all of our listeners to go tag the White House. And
that's actually a good way to counter this. Just go tag...
there are criminals there.
Well, it's like ACORN. You walk in, you go, I've got underage sex slaves. I don't run the op. Well, we got people to work with you. And they go to office after office because that's, I mean, this is a criminal organization.
Yeah, exactly. Go flag the dangerous gun owners. We know where they're at.
Well, if you got an NRA sticker, by all means.
Oh, for sure.
Well, no, I've seen that on Discovery Channel. They had a thing called Inside the LAPD. It was called an Inside. This, too, was about 15 years ago. I played the clip on air. People couldn't believe it. And an old vet had died in his house. He hadn't been out in 5 days, so the neighbor calls the police. They come in, and the cops make fun of his dead body in L.A., and then go, I want this gun. I'm keeping this one. And they go, look at this scum. He has an NRA sticker on his Bronco. And they go, look at this scum. And show an NRA sticker. That's how evil our government is.
Yeah, because responsible gun owners.
They actually said, look at this scum. And then they made fun of his dead body and went, woo. They had a sheet over and like, well, look at all these rifles. And then stole the rifles on TV and said they were going to keep them individually.
Wow.
See, that's how they pimp you. They openly commit crime on TV, desecrate a dead veteran's dead body, call him scum for an NRA sticker. The cop's sitting there with a gun. Yeah, he's got a gun. He's going, look at this scum. Just look at this scum. Just look at this. It's incredible. I mean, and the thing is, it sounds crazy. It's all over the top. Thank you so much, Leanne.
Thank you.
We're going to go to break and come back with Larry Pinkney for this segment, into the next, and a little bit with Wayne Madsen. And then after Wayne Madsen leaves us in studio, he's here for Obama Deception 2. We're going to have James O'Keefe on, the guy that brought down ACORN and more. And talk about courage. Talk about huevos. This man's got them. We sell the book, Breakthrough, at InfoWarsStore.com with all the other great films and books. And, ladies and gentlemen, Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0, non-GMO, totally organic, hundreds of different incredible ingredients in here, 90 essential minerals, probiotics, prebiotics, amino acids, essential cofactors, and more, trace minerals, whole food. This has an 8,000 total ORAC score. The old Beyond Tangy Tangerine that I still love has 5,000 something. Where is it available, discounted out of the gates? InfoWarsHealth.com. There's also a phone number there on the side if you want to call and ask any questions or help walk you through it. It's very easy. But if you need any help getting signed up for auto ship to get free shipping, that's a big savings. Sign up to be a distributor and get big discounts. It's $10 to be a distributor. And your purchases do what? They fund hardcore liberty organization that is crazed for liberty, going 110% against the enemy with our tongue hanging out, okay? So when you support us by getting the best vitamins, minerals, health products, it's all there, over 400 products, the free online catalog, InfoWarsHealth.com, or 888-789-9277, 888-789-9277. Today, folks, call, get your Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0, and all the other OsteoFX 2.0, they now have that in a powder form, which I like because I didn't like the way the liquid stuff tastes. It is really the best stuff out there. I go find the very best stuff, InfoWarsHealth.com. And you can also go to InfoWarsTeam.com and sign up to be a distributor as well. Both sites, basically, I always like to have two to have a backup. But it's InfoWarsTeam.com or InfoWarsHealth.com, 888-789-9277. InfoWarsTeam.com or InfoWarsHealth.com. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0, Citrus Punch Fusion, the ultimate multivitamin mineral complex, available now. Out of the gates, InfoWarsHealth.com. Larry Pinkney, next. All right, I wanted to get Larry Pinkney on today, and I really appreciate him joining us because he is a veteran of the Black Panther Party, the former Minister of Interior of the Republic of New Africa, a former political prisoner, and the only American to have successfully self-offered his civil political rights case in the United Nations under the International Covenant of Civil and Political Rights. And it's also come out even in Congress that he was set up under COINTELPRO. And he has been very critical of the new Black Panther Party, which is just like the Ku Klux Klan, in my view. Federally handled, run, meant to act completely idiotic and make everybody hate each other. Larry, give us the inside scoop on what you think of the attempts by a lot of different sides to try to create a racial explosion out of the tragic Trayvon Martin, George Zimmerman case. What's your take on that?
My take on, first of all, my brother Alex, it's good to hear your voice. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Good to hear yours. All right, and thank all your viewers and listeners. Now, to answer your question, this is COINTELPRO all over again. This is a counterintelligence program on steroids. You dig? It's on steroids. And the fact is that we need to understand it for what it really is. This is about divide, conquer, keep in fear, and control. That's what this is about, Alex. My brother, we need to keep on putting that information out there. You need to keep on putting that information, as do I, out there. That's my perspective on that.
I agree, and it's so transparent. You know, they've declassified FBI fake comic books they would put out about the Black Panthers, showing Black Panthers killing white people to be blamed on you. I mean, this is just, it's pretty obvious this new, what's your inside take on the new Black Panther Party? Because you've told me off air they're pretty bad news.
Well, look, I want everybody, black, white, brown, red, and yellow folk, all my brothers and sisters, all my sisters and brothers, I want you to stop and I want you to think. Just for, I know it's hard to think, but stop and think just for a few seconds. Who are these people? Who is funding these people? Where do they come from? Whose interests are they serving? Okay, good questions, more often than not, turn out to be in themselves good answers. All right? Why is it that the so-called new Black Panther Party is always on hand to fan the flames of hatred, to fan the flames of fear, to fan the flames of disunity? No, we need unity among black, white, brown, red, and yellow, everyday, ordinary people. So I'm throwing some questions out there. The original Black Panther Party, formed in October of 1966, of which I was a member, believed in all power to the people. Black, white, brown, red, and yellow people. All right? All of us. Because we understood and we understand today that this struggle is about all of us. You know, resistance is not futile. It is essential to our life and our liberty.
Absolutely. I mean, it's so transparent with the new Black Panther Party, the stuff that comes out. It's meant to make it all about race instead of about the issues. And if anybody was for real and talked like that, they'd be arrested.
Right. I mean, ask yourself this question, or we should ask ourselves this question. Now, the Black Panther Party was formed in October of 1966. I'm not talking about the so-called new Black Panthers, okay? Jive, 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 as we say back in the day. But it's worse than jive. Because when you talk about going into communities and killing people in those communities, what you're talking about is fanning hatred. You're talking about...
Absolutely. Stay there. We're back in 60 seconds. I want to talk about what would happen if this actually took place. Coming up, we're going to have Wayne Madsen, a real NSA whistleblower, in studio with us. He's been demonized by CNN this week over the fact that he continues to reveal bombshell info. Right now, Larry Pinkney joins us, and perhaps we should get Larry on the news tonight so he can go for like 30 minutes uninterrupted by ads and really break down what's happening here. But it's so transparent that when it turns out the feds are funding the white supremacists and having a march to create division, or then they're funding radical racist black groups to create the division, so then everybody's scared of each other, and government can then play the part of the referee. That's what I take away from the reports that the new Black Panther Party people that we have up on Infowars.com are talking about, reportedly, going in and burning down the white neighborhoods, whatever that means. You were getting to what's really behind this. A former real member of the original Black Panther Party, their head of information, Larry Pinkney. Larry?
Look, the bottom line is this. If we want unity, then we're going to have to work out our problems, work out whatever our disagreements might be. We're going to have to work them out together. You cannot, and I repeat, no one, we cannot fight, quote, racism or exploitation, economic exploitation, with more racism and economic exploitation. It does not take a rocket scientist to figure that out. And we ordinary, everyday black, white, brown, red, and yellow people are very astute.
But I mean, how does pulling Reginald Denny out and bashing his face in, or burning down a predominantly white neighborhood with just random people in it? I mean, it's the same way like the Klan going out and just randomly lynching black people. I mean, it's just mindless.
It's worse than the Klan. Let me tell you why I say to you that it is worse than the Klan. Black people and white people of goodwill and brown and red and yellow people have fought for many decades in this country for equality of all people. Then you have a group of people, quote unquote, who come along and say, nah, you know, white folks, you know, they devils. White folks, we're going to kill them. No, that's unacceptable. As Brother Malcolm said, and that's why I love Brother Malcolm, because he evolved, he grew, he understood. And Malcolm said, right is right and wrong is wrong, no matter who says it or who does it. And he's absolutely correct. That's why they killed him, of course. But the bottom line is that we need to learn from that. These people made sacrifices. Dr. King made sacrifices. Rosa Parks, John Brown, Frederick Douglass, I can go on and on and on. The point is, let's not be sucked in by this insidious, insipid, blood-sucking corporate stream media. All they want to do is get you to watch their vomit, okay, on television, read their vomit in newspapers and magazines. The last thing they want you to do, they don't ever want you to critically think, for us to critically think, and Lord knows they do not want us to come together to communicate directly.
Absolutely. No, they want to get us all fighting with each other, and then they're the referee. I want to come back. We got Wayne Madsen coming in, but do 5 more minutes with you, because I'm going to pull up the name of it. We did a video on the Nightly News. It's now on YouTube. That's like an hour long where you eloquently break down what's happening. And I want to point people to that as well so they can see you do the whole history. But I want to talk about the Democratic Party itself, the party of the Klan, and how they've just tried to adopt a new racial politic versus what Malcolm X developed and evolved into. In closing with you, and then we'll give folks some of the latest on this trial. And I don't know your take on it. I'll get your take on the Zimmerman trial. I mean, regardless of what really happened there, they've made it a spectacle to create this division. So I'll get your take on that. And then we're going to get Wayne Madsen, NSA whistleblower, in studio, sitting 2 feet from me with bombshell info. Stay with us. Larry Pinkney, who is an original Black Panther and one of their main leaders from back in the 60s to the 70s, was on with us a little bit in the last hour. He's finishing up now because I had a few other questions for him. But he said undoubtedly the new Black Panther Party, who's reportedly been calling for unrest and things and violence in white neighborhoods or predominantly white areas, is basically there just to create divide and conquer so the government can play the part of the savior. And you can see the media, the White House, going in there with the Justice Department trying to get protests going because they just want it to be about race instead of the economic corruption. The foreign banks sucking us dry, the big mega billionaires tax exempt, lobbying for higher taxes on the poor people, the so-called Obamacare written by the insurance companies to rip people off and have a private tax. They don't want that discussed. They don't want real unemployment discussed. They want us fighting with each other. But we've talked before, and we'll punch it up on screen. There's a video that we aired on the Nightly News about a month ago when you were here, Mr. Pinkney being interviewed for the Obama Deception 2. We went ahead and just put the whole raw interview up. Clips of it will be in the film. And it was titled Black Panther condemns Obama. Larry Pinkney. Now, when you search that, it has like 60-something thousand hits on the Alex Jones channel, views. But you cannot search it in YouTube and find it on our channel. And this started about 3 weeks ago, where none of our headlines are searchable. Only on other people's sites that have a copy of the headline. And so that's why the thousands of other YouTube sites might get 1 million views on a video I do, and it gets 30,000 on our site. They are trying to block us. They know we're reaching, let's not exaggerate, 15+ million a week on AM, FM, shortwave, XM, YouTube, and a lot of other platforms. People handing DVDs to each other. The point is, they're scared of this info. And they have heavily censored our interviews with Mr. Pinkney, where they just don't show up. They're like ghosts in the machine. And they're trying to shut down our channel with 300-something million views. That's just one channel we've got. We've got a whole bunch of others. Go to the channel where there's thousands of incredible reports and videos. Copy those to your channel. Give them other names. Jam the system. You got to go to Conspiracy Scope to find the Black Panther condemns Obama. And, you know, gets into how he's not a lesser of two evils. He's a more effective of evils for the front of the globalists. So finishing up with the Democratic Party, because I just see them, you know, they failed with their race politics with white racism. So now they've just moved into divide and conquer. Your take on that, and then if you could just briefly tell your Malcolm X story and how he changed your life. You got a chance to get to talk to him and know him. Just like Charlton Heston took time out to talk to me and encourage me. He was a civil rights activist, but for civil rights here in the U.S., but then for guns as well. Just like Malcolm X took time out to encourage you early on. So let's briefly tell that story, then we're going to go to NSA whistleblower Wayne Madsen.
Okay, let me say, first of all, let me send my kudos, love, strength, and respect to Brother Wayne Madsen. He's a great researcher, fantastic writer, and I read everything that the man writes. Thank you so much. Look, moving on to what you said, Alex, the bottom line is this, that I learned, we all learned, but I certainly learned from Brother Malcolm when I met him in 1961, and I understood, even at that young age that I was then, that this is a struggle about all people. Now, with respect to the federal government and what they are doing, you know, Obama was groomed and raised by the CIA. Let's be honest. Stop playing with ourselves. Stop this intellectual masturbation. He was groomed and raised by the Central Intelligence Agency. He is simply carrying on that which his predecessors had already begun. Now, I think, Alex, that we have to understand that we have a responsibility as everyday, ordinary, black, white, brown, red, and yellow people to communicate with each other. Not only to communicate, but to come together, whatever our disagreements may be, and we will have them. As Malcolm said, we have them in the closet, but we come out as a united front. And that's what we do. We have an obligation to come together to fight this national and global power elite. What we're seeing with the so-called new Black Panther Party, again, I ask you, whose interests are these people serving? Go into the white community and burn down their homes? Excuse me, kill white babies? Excuse me, but it ain't about that. Yes, I'm slipping off into a little ghetto-ese. It ain't about that. It's about the power of the people. All power to the people, black, white, brown,
exactly,
red,
and the globalists are scared to death of that. And of course, you're probably talking about some of the earlier new Black Panther Party people who would say, go to the neighborhoods, get their babies, murder their babies, kill the women. They're the military manufacturing center. When I'm white, and I can tell you right now, growing up in Dallas, my family, there wasn't any racist stuff. It was the opposite. But there is still a fear and a concern when the media plays it up constantly, where then instead of being racist, you feel so guilty and bad you don't want to be around black people because it makes you uncomfortable because you feel like you're so bad. See, and again, they know what they're doing. They want us all, they want black folks to feel the same. Not that whites are all racist and hate them, but that they're uncomfortable as well. Can you speak to that briefly?
Yes, the bottom line is what I called in the presentation that you were referring to, that you all covered, and thank you very much that you're carrying. I called it an introverted form of racism, and that's what this is. It's where they take racism, they twist it and distort it. You know, why is it? I am sick and tired of every time I use the word slave, black people go, oh, they're talking about me. Don't they know? Don't we know that slaves were of all colors? All colors. And you know what? Today, we are slaves of all colors. Just because we have a colored charlatan by the name of Barack Obama, who is nothing more than a Trojan horse for the national and global power elite, just because we have this person sitting in the, quote, White House has not changed anything. In fact, to the contrary, things have been made even more insidious and worse. So all I have to say, and I'm going to say it until the day I die, that we the people must come together for our constitutional rights with respect to the Bill of Rights, with respect to international law, and first and foremost, with respect to the human rights of all people.
Absolutely. All right. Well, listen, I appreciate you spending time with us, and we'll talk to you very soon, Larry, probably next week. This verdict could come out any day. In the aftermath of that, maybe this Sunday, we'll stay in close contact. Thank you so much for spending time with us, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Stay strong. Love you, Alex. Watch your back and keep on keeping on.
Absolutely. Well, we love you as well. We love everybody that stands up for human dignity and liberty. Because I'm here to tell you, folks, we're not going to have freedom for anybody under this divide and conquer. We either unify under liberty and freedom and the individual and what people stand for, what they produce, and who they are, instead of what group they're in, or we're never going to have a future for our children. And humans have always been tribal, and as he said, there have been slaves in every culture in the world. They never teach that at the schools because they want black folks to think it's only them to have this identity, this inferiority complex, to then be racially obsessed with it, so the government then can basically provide them with the propaganda and direct their lives. And since the government took over the black community, you've seen what they've done. And every other community, the government's taking over. Just that the black community has been in the clutches of this New World Order longer. Now, we're going to go to break and come back with Wayne Madsen. You know, I've got like 1,000 points that I want to go over with him. An amazing interview on the Nightly News last night. I sat in the control room while they were, on the news doing the interview, him and Rob Dude. It was just so many amazing things. And then Wayne's been down to Austin before. I've been interviewing Wayne, I don't know, for like 15 years or so, off and on the radio, at least about 13, 14. I guess it's about 1999, so I guess, yeah, wow, 14 years. Time flies. And it just, everything he talks about later comes out and turns out to be true. I mean, this guy's got one of the best track records I've ever seen. In fact, I forgot to get you guys to get this. I want to play this later in the hour, a clip of it. It's called Reliable Sources, Unreliable Sources. It's the show Reliable Sources, but they called it Unreliable Source. So just type in reliable sources, unreliable source. Takes you to CNN. They have the video. Dude's already grabbed it, actually, over on that side. So ask him. He'll give it to you, so you don't have to grab it. I want to play it where they just spent, off and on, I'm going to play a short clip, like 20 minutes demonizing Wayne Madsen this weekend. Not just on that show, but even others, saying this guy's a kook. He's nuts. He says they're tapping the transatlantic cable. That already come out. That was true. They say that we work with the Europeans to spy on everybody. That's already admitted. I mean, he's like, Wayne Madsen says that water's wet. And then it turns out who these guys are from the Daily Beast. This is a White House operation. We're going to get into that first. Then we're going to get into the latest on the NSA, where all this is going. And then Wayne, as a journalist, was telling me about, and I remember reading this a while back about just a few years ago, doing stuff with British intelligence and all this other stuff. I mean, this is a really interesting guy. And if you want to know what a citizen journalist spy looks like, it looks like Wayne Madsen. They don't, most of them don't look like the guy in James Bond, you know, running around kicking people in cars with gadgets all over it and the rest of it. And I guess he's kind of a spy working for the people, but he's really interesting. Last night, because I can't follow everything he does, so prolific, he was telling me all this other stuff, and I was just like, wow, this is really wild. He could tell you stories about run-ins with the head of the NSA and others at the CIA building and all sorts of stuff. Wayne Madsen, this is a guy you could be great to go on a fishing trip with this guy to a cabin for a week and grill some steaks. I tell you, he is fun to hang out with, and just a plethora of knowledge. So NSA Insider, straight ahead. All right, you're with us for about 15 minutes the next hour. Then James O'Keefe, author of Breakthrough, how you can really become true citizen journalists. This is the Bible, how to take action. We sell it at InfoWarsStore.com. Heads up the Veritas Project. He's going to be joining us, founder of the Project Veritas, the Veritas Wars. This has been the war against lies. You know, from more of a paleo-conservative perspective, you come from more of a populist perspective, I would say, Wayne Madsen. Wayne, you were so interesting on air, but also off air even more so. Where do we start? I mean, let's start with, you're on here a month ago, you're on here 2 weeks ago. Everything you said, you guys did this last night. Weeks after, we show the clip where you say it, or where you said it, and then it comes out admitted, but then they're simultaneously saying, you're not a good source, you're bad, because they're upset about you, aren't they? Also hijacked your computer right when you got here and wiped it. I mean, describe what's going on with CNN and others and why they're so upset about you. Because folks may not remember, I remember, 10 years ago, you were the main NSA master whistleblower who was bringing out all these other whistleblowers. The difference was Bush wasn't prosecuting them.
Right. Well, 15 years ago, I was with a group called the Electronic Privacy Information Center, a public.
You were on the board.
I was a senior fellow with them, and we took on as one of the projects the expose of Echelon, which was this system by...
You were Electronic Frontier Foundation, too. You were a whole...
We were allies with them.
You were a whole bunch of stuff. I mean,
we worked with them quite closely. We also worked with the European Parliament to expose this NSA eavesdropping. They issued a report. I testified before their representatives who came to Washington.
It's on record that Hayden had a whole group spying on you.
They had a group called, it was a project called First Fruits. It was spying specifically against journalists who wrote about NSA. I was told by somebody who worked on First Fruits, I was on the list, James Bamford was on the list, Vernon Lowe from the Post, Bill Gertz from the Washington Times, Cy Hirsch from New Yorker, and then it was expanded.
And then when you see Hayden, what does he do? He even knows what you look like.
Yeah, I was told by good sources at NSA at the time when Hayden was the director that he got a once-a-week briefing on what I was doing. Obviously, you know, what did you hear on his phone calls, his email? And then his deputy, Bill Black, was briefed daily at you know, Monday through Friday.
Well, the thing is, you never toot your horn. You're like the iconic master whistleblower guy. I mean, that's why they're saying this guy's nobody. They even said your name wrong over and over again, trying to confuse people.
Well, right. I mean, on CNN, I was referred to as Michael Madsen. Obviously, confused me with the actor. At least they didn't confuse me with Virginia Madsen, who's Michael Madsen's sister. But, you know, these people can't get it right. They were saying that anyone who Googled me would find out, you know, I had written controversial things in the past. Of course I do. That's how I make my living. I'm trying to bring back muckraking journalism as it was practiced by Jack Anderson, Drew Pearson, I.F. Stone, H.L. Mencken. We can go back into history. That's been lost. We don't have journalism like that anymore. We have this.
Reality is sensational.
Absolutely. So, you know, I mean, so these people who were attacking were using Google and they were using Wikipedia. Wikipedia, my entry in Wikipedia, my birth date is incorrect. So, you know, my point is...
I know, they spell my name wrong on there. And my mother's like, why is your name wrong everywhere, Emmerich? And I go, they won't change it.
Right.
I've even sent them my driver's license, a copy to Wikipedia, and they go, we're not changing it.
The minute...
It's full of crap.
Right. The minute you change Wikipedia back to, you know, something that looks halfway legitimate, somebody goes in and changes it back and puts all... It's not... Many journalists, and I myself, we've all been burned by using Wikipedia. We just don't use it.
Well, you can't take what it says. If the references on the bottom are good, a lot of it is really good.
Yeah, you got.
It's just that sometimes it's got pure bull, like Alex Jones died of a heart attack. You know?
Right. So
I'm getting calls. So you died of a heart attack. I know. I promise I didn't.
Right. You go to the references and see if they're legit. That's how you have to use Wikipedia. But these people did not do their job. They used incorrect information. They use Twitter. They use all the social networking that the Soros people use to overthrow foreign governments. And so it's easy to attack a single journalist in this country using the same means that they used to overthrow governments in Ukraine and Georgia and Tunisia and
Oh, I get these wave attacks all the time.
Yeah.
And then I'll search who it is, and it's guys active duty at the Pentagon, active duty Ford Foundation, active duty Media Matters. They're on duty.
Right. One of the guys who attacked me on Twitter is a full-time professor at the U.S. Naval War College. That's part of the U.S. Navy. And he, I said, hey, what about the Hatch Act? You can't be using your affiliation with the U.S. Navy in partisan political activity. Well, he was very arrogant, this guy, John Schindler.
And as you pointed out, he was going 10 hours at a time.
Oh,
I mean, this was duty. This was duty.
Yeah, this is Madsen. We know about sock puppets working for H.B. Gary Federal and Palantir. Developed the PRISM system that...
Yeah, let's talk about sock puppets. I tell people they've got fake people posting, and they go, oh, that's how... No, this is admitted.
Yeah.
And you learn how they operate. Because you can put in the sock puppet comment, put it in, you'll find 100 of them in the last minute. It's everywhere posting it. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Hey, folks, this song is dedicated, crank it up, to Janet Napolitano about to leave Homeland Security. This is her song. I heard when she takes over the California college school system, part of the agreement for her to get the job is that she has to wear a muzzle when she enters the ladies' room. I'm sorry. Madsen, you actually made that joke during the break, and I had to steal it. It's too funny. But listen, I'm not even against people that are into her persuasion. That's not even my ball game. It's that there is the big controversy up there, and that's my intel. A bunch of their deputies have had to resign, Justice Department. They've had people, do the out-of-court settlements. What is this they do to the men? Because they almost do. It's the men, actually, that they make, I guess, like Abu Ghraib, crawl around with the dog leash and stuff. So, I mean, I guess they do need to be politically muzzled in their... So it's like this certain breed of woman that's like hyper-dominant. I hear they take testosterone and stuff. I mean, what is that?
I don't know. We knew this with the Abu Ghraib and some of the abuses in Guantanamo and some of the CIA black sites is sadomasochistic behavior by these interrogators and guards. I mean, who came up with all this? I mean, these guards did not think about this on
CIA did.
Yeah.
But they admit they're mainlining something they just like to do.
Yeah, and then I was told by a very good source that some of the videos of this sexual abuse was being live streamed up to the White House, where Dick Cheney and his buddies were watching it.
Well, that actually came out in the news that Congress would get the thousands of videos and really enjoyed them.
Yeah, and then the closet that was streaming all this, the electrical closet, the comm closet in the old executive office building, caught on fire. It was like a 2-alarm or 3-alarm fire. The D.C. Fire Department, came in there to put the fire out. So, the video streaming equipment burned up just when there was interest being expressed in what Cheney's role was in all this abuse at Abu Ghraib and other sites.
But it's like Joseph Mengele. All these guys always get into like cornered people they control, and that's what tyranny's about. Is then these psychos get to do whatever they want.
Right. So the people in charge have some real issues. Well, it goes back to J. Edgar Hoover, like Larry Pinkney was saying. One thing we forget is his COINTELPRO and how they infiltrated the Black Panthers with the people. When I was investigating the book on Obama and the CIA, I had members of the original Black Panther Party from Chicago tell me that when Obama showed up, they knew he was, he's not one of us. This guy's a plant. They knew all about COINTELPRO. And although, at that point in time in the 80s, the Black Panther Party, the original one, was kind of subsiding from the news, they knew what they had on their hands. They had a plant, and they knew it. He was even his mother, Obama's mother, Stanley Ann Dunham, said she was shocked to see the change in behavior of her son becoming like more of a street guy rather than the son she raised. That's because he was he was play acting, and it was so good he even fooled his mother apparently.
Amazing. There's so much to talk about, but specifically, let's get into what's happening with Snowden. Your overall take on him. Is he for real? Where's all this going? What else is going to come out? Because Snowden is putting stuff out that you put out 15 years ago, that Bamford put out on Nightline 12 years ago, Body of Secrets, we had him on, and it was all confirmed to be accurate. So they freak out over stuff that's like, Today they discovered the Grand Canyon. It's incredible. I mean, so what's really going on here?
Well, Snowden, what he has done is we've known all this, but you know, this information comes in waves. We had the echelon interest. You know, I was on 60 Minutes being interviewed. That was back in 2000. We had in 2000 or 99, and we had the EU report. It was in the news then. What Snowden has done is, by releasing this information, he's shown where we've come, that these programs still exist. They've gotten bigger. The target audience, who they're targeting.
The secret interpretation of the Patriot Act is everything.
Right.
All info, but
right.
Didn't the head of the Total Information Awareness Network wrote a New York Times article saying everything you do, we're keeping it?
Right. Admiral Poindexter.
Yeah, why didn't he get arrested? Go ahead.
Admiral Poindexter got hired by DARPA, the Pentagon's research arm, to come up with total information awareness. This was total information awareness. So when the Congress pulled the funding, I was told by people, look, it's just going to go over to NSA. You know, it's not going. It's being pulled out of the Pentagon. And, you know,
well, they gave it to private contractors.
Yeah, Booz Allen, SAIC, they all have a piece of the action. So I think Snowden's for real. And what he's done is what he's provided us is the new covered terms for these projects. Tempora for the cable tap, Prism, which was developed by Palantir. You know, at the Pentagon Metro Station, it's the only metro station, D.C., you can't take a photograph. Palantir took over the whole station with their ad campaign, on the floor, on the walls, on these signs. And one of the things I remembered, I wanted to take a picture, but they arrest you if you do it there at Pentagon Metro, was a prism showing all this feed coming in and a single feed going out on the other side of the prism. What do you think that is? That's Prism. Now, they denied it. Of course, NSA is going to use off-the-shelf software. They've done it for years. So Prism is Palantir. Palantir is also one of the sock puppet companies that was, you know, that attacked Glenn Greenwald when he was going after the Bank of America.
Yeah, for those that don't know what a sock puppet is, explain it.
A sock puppet is somebody paid to be on the internet. Usually, they're operating out of the U.S. Cyber Command, which is the sister command of NSA up at Fort Meade. Each military service has these sock. They get on and they just make comments on these blogs.
And that's admitted,
right.
but expanding, they now have programs where one guy can have millions of comments going, where they go and have a computer program. That's why they're now saying they're going to have robots write the news. They put out one press release, the government does, and then even with fake names, the computer rewrites it different ways to make it look like there's variety.
Yeah, one person will have like maybe 80 to 100 identities, and it looks like, you know, they're hitting the same website. It looks like 80 people. This is what happened when the Observer ran my story on the front page. It looked like they were being inundated by people around the world saying, how could you put this guy on, blah, 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 blah. I boiled it down. It was about 6 to 8 people doing this, and they constantly put the information out there. These comments, and it looked like they were big in numbers. They're very small, but this is how they operate.
Well, Israel admits for 15 years they've got private citizen brigades. They call it megaphone, and they've got a computer icon that pops up on the smartphone of the computer and then tells people where to go and what to say.
The Hasbara brigade, right? It's megaphone and GIYUS, give Israel your united support. And they've done that for years, yeah. It makes them look like, you know, we're outraged at some article that criticizes Israel when, in fact, these are dedicated people that populate these comment sections.
And see, the difference is what they haven't gotten around with YouTube, even though it's part of their own system. You'll have 97% positive votes, but mainly negative comments. Because the IP addresses, even if they jump, YouTube's recognizing it, not letting them vote.
Right. And then you get the people that put things from the Bible in there. That's all part of this operation. The YouTube comment section, it's all this. It's just,
or they'll change the subject.
Diversionary. Right. This is what they do.
They don't want real debate happening.
Absolutely.
They want to just have thinking people tune out of it. And by the way, Cass Sunstein admitted this 5 years ago.
Cognitive dissonance is what he called it.
Listen, let me ask your opinion of Adam Kokesh. You know, you live around D.C., you've been around him. I think he has courage on the surface. D.C. Heller has been overthrown. And so I tend to not want to nitpick people who I think have a lot of courage. But I respect your view and opinion of things. Adam Kokesh.
Why? Yeah, the one thing that intrigues me is why every time he has a run-in with the law, why is it it's always the U.S. Park Police, even though it's an area where the U.S. Park Police has no jurisdiction. It's almost like he's assigned. He's got the U.S. Park Police assigned to him. I find that very unusual.
Well, he goes always to Park Police property. He always goes to their square there. He does it on their jurisdiction.
Right. But, I guess there was
I need to ask him about that.
Run-in in Herndon, Virginia, and I don't think the park has anything. They've got Manassas out there, but it's nowhere near Herndon, Virginia. And I remember a guy who was with the Vietnam Veterans Against the War who, publicly threw his medals over the White House fence and was always seen at these anti-war.
John Kerry.
John Kerry, right. Wasn't he just the guy to be there, and later, I mean, it's pretty apparent that John Kerry was infiltrating the anti-war movement. And look where he is today.
See, I have a blind spot because I get accused of being an infiltrator so much, and I know full well I'm not. Maniac, yes. Infiltrator. I guess I'm a people's infiltrator. I mean, I don't like being a slave. I guess I have that that opposition thing to corrupt authority. I'm kind of evil. So then I start hearing, oh yeah, this is an operative, that's an operative, and I just get to the point where I don't listen to it. But then sometimes it is an operative. I don't think his guys are. I mean, those are real guys.
Yeah. Well, and it was the case with Kerry with the Vietnam vets. The people who were associated with him were, legitimate anti-war protesters who served in Vietnam. But John Kerry was just always, every time he showed up before Congress, he had his fatigues on. They were dry cleaned, they were pressed, and his hair was coiffed very nicely. The guy was a shill.
All right, I'm gonna throw one at you. I want your honest response because I know you're for real. You keep giving us intel that turns out accurate hundreds of times in the last 15 years, and everything you've said about Snowden's come true. So I respect your view. What do you think of Infowars.com and Alex Jones, my operation?
I think that this operation is so necessary because, the corporate media, look at the over-attention now in this Trayvon Martin case. That's the Jerry Springerization of the news. And nobody, there's things going on all around the world. In Syria right now, we had the commander of the Free Syrian Army being killed by Al-Qaeda guys who are being armed by Mr. Obama right as we speak. He's giving them weapons. We have this mess in Egypt. But all we get is this, this fodder for the Greta Van Sustrans and this, Grace woman on CNN headline news. Remember that was headline news? Now it's all tabloid garbage.
Sure, but your bottom line analysis, and here I'm showing viewers a image of the FSA people with a 4-year-old girl tied up while they murder her family, cutting Christians' heads off, our own government funding Al-Qaeda, the Congress saying it's time to give them heavy weapons. They've been giving them heavy weapons. You've been to Syria. I want to get your take on that. But what is your take, your analysis, because I really want your psychoanalyzing on Alex Jones.
I talked about muckraking journalism before, Jack Anderson and Drew Pearson. That's what you're doing here. This is the information that people need to know. You get through all the nonsense out there, all the stupid non-stories, and dig down, and that's why what you're doing here is so
sure. But I mean, my point is, you're the victim of sock puppet stuff. So am I, and it doesn't bother me to be lied about, attacked. Except it bothers me that people that are just now waking up get diverted with, I work for this, I work for that. No, I built this myself with my listeners' support, and I have all these guests on, and we have film contests that reach 10 million people, and we're having a huge effect. And the COINTELPRO, just like they use on the Black Panthers, is I'm a Fed, I'm bad, blah, blah, blah. But no, it's the people saying that are.
I will assure every listener and viewer that I have been through the facility here. There is no secret NSA office, not like Microsoft has across the street, Baltimore-Washington Parkway, for the NSA headquarters, where they work closely with NSA. There's no secret NSA office here, FBI office. I've been through the whole facility. It's a bootstrap operation.
But that's the point, is that I know I've had victories, and I've seen other people do huge things who take action. And the general public cannot believe that someone could be successful. They cannot believe that someone could do something when all I've seen is good people take action. We have victories. And it's so frustrating to see people not be able to believe that they can have an effect. The people we're fighting are just people like us as well.
Well, if you've been fed a steady diet for so long of Anderson Cooper and Piers Morgan and Ed Schultz, I mean, isn't it funny how Ed Schultz changed the whole story on Snowden, saying, "Oh, I think the guy's a traitor. I think the guy did the wrong thing," you know. But let's get back and start talking about what's happening in Wisconsin and with the unions and all. That's all important. But he's a diversionary guy. That's why he got fired from his show and get replaced by this policy wonky guy, Chris Hayes. So why is he still following?
Why have we never? I've never seen such a totally transparent operation where the White House, the Pentagon, the whole system is not having people behind the scenes now. They're putting them all in the positions of the actual pundits. We have a state-run media.
Absolutely. These, when I saw pundits reporting on the plane crash, the Asiana plane crash in San Francisco, you don't have pundits reporting on plane crashes. You have reporters reporting on plane crashes. These people are not journalists by trade. They're lawyers. They're political hacks. And so that's what's wrong with the media.
You were talking about that last night, how 20, 30 years ago, you go to the press club, it was real reporters. Now, I mean, there's no journalism. What is it?
No, there's nobody there. I mean, they've seen their better days. It used to be 4 deep with real journalists there at the bar at happy hour. They'd all be talking about, their stories. Of course, they don't want to, them ripping each other off. But, there was a lot more camaraderie. It was real journalists. Now what you got are PR flacks. You got lawyers, you got, some people that just, they don't even know what you're working. They don't understand what the news is. I mean,
well, that's right. Most operatives of the globalists are into are totally want to go play golf, visit their mistress, and they're totally lazy. They just take a press release from the central government and repeat it. That's why I'm saying our enemy is actually pretty weak. They don't even know how to think anymore. You were talking about the old days. People were really smart.
Right.
I mean, it's bizarre.
When I first became a member of the press club, I was able to talk to guys who covered the Kennedy assassination, Oswald being shot, guys like Ike Pappas, who was with WNEW in Dallas, who Oswald brushed up against. Jack Ruby brushed up against to shoot Oswald. So, these are the real journalists. But
and now they're saying they may even get rid of press conferences and have an Obama hologram, who isn't even him, but his voice deliver it.
Max Headroom.
Yeah, the talking points. And they're already saying they're going to have robots write the news.
Yeah. I mean, you got Jay Carney. The guy looks like Doogie Howser, and he's a press secretary.
Why would Gibbs go on TV and go, yeah, we lied to you and said there were no drone programs when it was an admitted program? And he said the funny thing is this is admitted to exist, but I say it doesn't. And they all laugh like it's fun as a joke on their viewers. What is that?
It's inside baseball. There's a list when they have a press conference who they go to first. This is why they went after Helen Thomas when they... these same sock puppets went after her when she was caught with a camera that had been snuck into the White House. She was in the White House. How do you get a hidden camera in there? You got to go through the Secret Service checks. It's like what happened to Dan Rather. The small group of these yellers and shouters on the internet can take down professional people like Helen Thomas and Dan Rather. So who's safe?
It's gangs.
Yeah.
Well, they've tried to take down Drudge. They've tried to take us down. I watched the dwindling media. It's kind of good they're doing inside baseball on these shows because pretty soon it'll only be the hosts that are watching.
Exactly.
We'll be right back. Now, about a month ago, Wayne Madsen was on with us, I think about 2 weeks ago, and he talked about being part of the EU Commission more than a decade ago. He talked about all the admissions, James Bamford's book, ABC News, about how decades ago, really back to World War II, Europe, the NSA, all of it shares the data. They use foreigners to listen to us so that if anything too sensitive comes out, it doesn't cause a scandal here in the U.S. This is like talking about, that Disney World is in Orlando and them saying it doesn't exist. There's the Irish Times. Snowden claims Germany is in bed with NSA. That came out about a week after Wayne Madsen was on 2 weeks ago. Now, I'm going to play a clip from CNN this weekend, reliable sources, because they told you they were reliable, like the Patriot Act's patriotic, just butchers the Bill of Rights, or drugging half the school kids, it's called New Freedom, or all of this Orwellian, or Homeland Security actually makes us insecure, but they call it Homeland Security. And they go, oh, it made the rounds. They retracted their story on Wayne Madsen. But The problem is they didn't retract. They denoticed, erased it. And then days after they retract it, it comes out everywhere that it's true, but they just hope they're moron viewers. And we're talking about maybe 200,000. I mean, it used to be like 10 million. So they're talking to, I guess, themselves. I guess it kind of gives the talking point orders out, though, because then it is regurgitated by the rest of the media. So the dinosaur media all vomiting together can still a pretty good bucket size. Whereas before, one of these guys could turn around and spray political diarrhea over an entire country. But they are shadows of their former selves. And I hate to use gross analogies, but it's all I've got. I mean, it's what I think of when I look at them. But, I mean, wait, it's an AP, Reuters, everything now that, okay, Snowden's in bigger trouble. And Germany's embarrassed. Okay, we're spying. You should be getting a Pulitzer Prize, bub. But instead, they're saying things like this to their moron viewers. Here it is.
Odd turn this past week when its sister paper, The Observer, ran a front-page story that claimed European officials had reached a secret deal with the NSA to turn over private data to the USA. Now, that sure sounds scandalous. But here's the thing. The article based its claims on a single, very unreliable source. A notorious conspiracy theorist named Wayne Madsen, whom reporter Jamie Doward never even spoke with. And not surprisingly, the article was eventually retracted, but not before it made the rounds on the internet, even receiving a coveted Drudge Report link.
A coveted Drudge Report link. We're about to go to break, but just respond to that, because you did talk to the paper.
Yes.
And this is all over and you told them, and they quoted stuff. Oh, you were like, look at the European Commission. Oh, it was admitted 12 years ago. Oh, yeah. They're mad because this is hiding in plain view. And you're like A, B, C, D. And so their answer is to say you're a liar.
Well, yeah. I mean, it was incorrect when this guy said I hadn't spoken directly to the reporter. I spoke to him on the phone, and I have exchanged emails with him before the story came out.
They know that. It's called lying to their audience.
About 12 emails. So, I mean, they get away with that. The Poynter Institute, which is a media watchdog, ran with a story based on what they said, and I've been in touch with them. They published the Tampa Bay Times, and I said, look, it's incorrect. I did speak with the reporter, so hopefully they will print a retraction of their article. But see, that's what you're going to get, retractions of retractions. And retractions.
Yeah, but this Daily Beast group are a group of White House snot-nosed.
Oh, absolutely.
I noticed they're getting younger and younger and more snot-nosed.
They're punks.
Yeah.
You know, look, the Washington Post sold Newsweek and the Daily Beast to the current company that owns it for $1. That's all it's worth, $1. I think they paid too much.
And then like 6 guys over there, too?
Oh, yeah, and it's the editor's Tina Brown, you know, this British woman who, you know, used to be the...
This is why we're going to beat them. These are a bunch of twit narcissists playing tough guy.
Yeah.
And they're going to go down.
Yeah, I mean, they're just punks.
But I mean, that's why your audience is gone. They know you lie to them. They know. All right, I'm going to take a few calls for questions for Wayne Madsen on this live Friday edition. I'll be back live this Sunday, Lord willing, 4 to 6 p.m. with a Sunday transmission. 800-259-9231. 800-259-9231. And then at 20 after, or a little bit earlier, we're getting James O'Keefe on, who brought down ACORN, you name it, so much more. You know I'm nonpartisan. I'm a libertarian constitutionalist, kind of would lean with what you call Republicans, just because they give lip service to guns and things like that and sovereignty. But the more I learn and get a little more seasoned, being around Democrats, watching them, am I wrong in saying Republicans are like this big imperial starship corruption and just lavishing themselves in country clubs and helicopters? Democrats are like, they have their mafia level, and they're slick as well, but grassroots, this is really gangsters. These really are, because any operation they're involved in, or even their low-level people, you find out, will tell you, yeah, we're gangsters, and they're all involved in crimes and things. I mean, from your research of Democrats, who are they?
Well, I mean, look at the veterans of the Obama administration. Rahm Emanuel, the mayor of Chicago, he's a thug. He's a gangster. Look what he's doing in the Chicago public school system. And he's benefiting from this. Penny Pritzker, who was Obama's number one fundraiser in Chicago, is now the Commerce Secretary. She breezed through a nomination. There wasn't a question asked about her unsavory ties in Chicago. She's the heiress to the Hyatt Hotel fortune. Also has to do with a lot of things. A lot of information that arose in Chicago about Hyatt maybe benefiting from the introduction of casino gambling.
Of course.
At the Navy Pier on Lake Michigan. So, yeah, she's mobbed up. So, yeah, they tend, the Democrats who support Obama tend to be more of what we would expect to find from big city machine politics.
You know, Obama gets fake excited when he's lying to old ladies saying, I'll get you a free house, all this stuff. But when he does these gay and lesbian events, he really gets excited and acts really weird. I mean, just the body language, my gaydar goes off with Obama.
Yeah, I mean, we know about his background now from Chicago. He's tried to cover it up, you know.
But my issue is they can use it for blackmail.
Oh, that was the whole point, you know, whether you agree with it or not, you know, back when being a homosexual was considered to be a highly blackmailable. Okay, we had J. Edgar Hoover at the FBI, but the word...
That was the whole point. The mob was running him.
It was all blackmail, right. They were running him. It was all that you could be blackmailed because there was such a social stigma attached to it that you wouldn't want the information to come out. It's different now, but that's what the original idea was back in the day when they investigated.
Well, I'm told by Hollywood, and this is also coming out in the Vatican, that you've almost got to be involved in that to be part of it now. It's like, we're learning about this mafia and hip-hop, where they tell them, you know, you got to come to the party and do this if you're going to be in the club. Well, I mean, that's really weird.
You know, all through the history, you read books on the history of Hollywood, and you find out not only actresses had to wind up on the director's casting couch, but a lot of male actors did as well, and some very big names were associated with that. People would be surprised.
I just don't get it. I guess it's the power, isn't it?
It is power. I think Henry Kissinger, who I despise as the only unindicted war criminal.
The great aphrodisiac is power.
Exactly. That's what he said. And in that respect, that's the one thing that he'll always be remembered for, because that's absolutely true what he said.
And reportedly, Kissinger is quite the horn dog.
Well, he's up in years now. But, yeah, remember he used to be considered quite the bachelor with dating starlets, Jill St. John and, you know.
What's disgusting is, it was in a couple newspapers, that the Prince of Darkness, Pearl, goes to parties and to women and says, I control lots of stuff and kill lots of people. And he thinks that like shows off to women. And even those power-hungry women go, ooh.
Yeah, just...
imagine that guy?
Just say, go choke on your, you know...
But imagine just going, I am powerful, I kill people.
Yeah, go
oh, Pearl, you're so powerful.
Yeah, go choke on a jumbo shrimp at the buffet.
I mean, the guy can hardly... It's unbelievable. I control drone forces. Aren't I sexy? Phone calls coming up. And remember, Obama said we shouldn't listen to these people that warn about tyranny around the corner. Well, it isn't around the corner. It's sitting on top of us. We can't trust federal judges. There's total illegal spying across the board. It's been public for at least 15 years. Wayne Madsen goes, here, media, look at this European Commission admitting sharing the data. All these governments are lying, blaming it on the U.S. They're all involved. They're like, this man's crazy. You know, he pointed out admitted facts. And Snowden's in trouble, in my view, and I want your brief take on this and then take calls. We're going to get to Trayvon Martin and the whole case and about to go to the jury, and we got the Veritas Project head joining us with his book. He'll give his take on that as well. But his real crime is they don't want the moral authority of someone in government, because they've endowed that with godlike status, to say, no, we're spying on the press and the people, and the government's out of control, and Bradley Manning says we were killing innocent people like a kid burning bugs with a magnifying glass. They don't want the government politically vocal, just like they're arresting CIA guys that go, yeah, we did illegally torture. Well, you're not supposed to get arrested for whistleblowing, exposing a crime. So it's unprecedented, and only Obama could get away with this. So, I mean, why do you think that's Snowden's big crime?
Yeah, look, Obama has brought more Espionage Act violations. The 1917 Espionage Act, put in by Woodrow Wilson. He's brought more charges under the Espionage Act than any other previous president combined. Snowden being the latest one. Tom Drake.
Yeah, it's not espionage is to give missile secrets to the Chinese. Yeah. Oops, our government did that. Bipartisan.
A very good intelligence agency asset president. That's what he was designed to do. That's what he was groomed to do. That's what he's doing. So, yeah, I mean, spying on the Associated Press, over 100 reporters and editors at the AP, James Rosen at Fox News. The list goes on, trying to get Jim Risen from the...
And now they're saying they may indict Rupert Murdoch. And look, obviously the spying scandal, not good over there in England, but compared to the Justice Department and all the stuff it's doing, what, a magnitude of 1,000 times?
Right. So, the situation is that some people said what Obama has done is criminalized investigative journalism. And it's true. The president of the AP, Gary Pruitt, told the press club a couple weeks ago, all our sources have gone cold on us. They're fearful.
And that's why they killed Hastings, because he said, all of us have to unite. America's being taken down. They've declared war on us. We declare war on them. Release all the info. Have courage. They went, have courage? Boom.
Right.
Briefly on Hastings, I had his buddy, Staff Sergeant Biggs, on yesterday. I mean, now it's come out. They basically killed him.
Yeah, it doesn't pass the smell test. I mean, we had Richard Clark even suggest, a former counterterrorism guy, that, you can manipulate a Mercedes. After Princess Diana died in the crash in Paris, I was in Paris right after that. And it was quite clear.
Well, the French police...
witnesses that somebody had sped that car up inside the tunnel, causing it to crash at a high rate of speed. So, yes, that technology's been around an awful long time.
Well, no kidding. They got robot Google cars driving around.
Absolutely. So
it's ridiculous. I mean, they had robot cars, remote control by radio control, 80 years ago.
Absolutely. So whether it was that or a bomb, clearly it
was a bomb.
It was sabotage. They sabotaged.
The witnesses said it was driving and blew up on the road. Yeah. The engine shot the opposite direction.
Right. So it looks like if it happened in Beirut or Damascus, there'd be no question as to whether it was a terrorist attack.
Maybe that's the new thing. Maybe like Special Forces jumps out, puts a bomb on you. They go up ropes in helicopters, you blow up, and they go, spontaneous combustion. Let's go to some phone calls here. Mike in Oregon, you're on the air. Thanks for holding. Go ahead.
Wayne and Alex, you guys, I salute you a lot.
Well, thank you, brother. Your phone's real bad. Go ahead and throw your question out real quick.
Oh, I live in Granny State Central, Portland, Oregon, and everyone's walking around like they're Jack Bauer and whatnot. And, I mean, I had an old lady pound down my door the other day because some kid was walking through the neighborhood and was like, I think he's suspicious. I wouldn't have asked the kid.
Yeah, your phone's so bad, I'm going to let you go. But I got what you were saying. We were making jokes during a break about looking at each other and watching. The government says, watch everyone. Government watch each other. Trust no one. Of course you're going to have Zimmerman going around getting in somebody's face. I mean...
look, the Berlin police today are investigating who shined the light on the U.S. Embassy there that said United Stasi of America. And they want to get the guy the light artist who designed that and who shined it on the embassy.
You ought to get a medal.
Yeah, not go after the people at the U.S. Embassy in Berlin who are listening in on German communications of private citizens.
Have you seen the video of the German cops? The guy does nothing and like 10 cops beat him till they almost kill him.
Yeah, nothing's changed much over there in the last 70 years.
Oh, yeah, I've heard like German police will be, like if you even say one thing to them, they're going to beat your brains out.
I've seen the Austrian police do the same thing, especially with immigrants. You do not want to get out of line and be Turkish or Tunisian in Vienna, Austria. But we can talk about that. We have the same issue here with our cops.
It's unbelievable. Yeah, they're investigating United Stasi of America artist. That's it. I want to find a company. I'm going to start doing that on government buildings around here. I mean, and that's like such a big deal. Oh, we may arrest you for that. What a bunch of scum. I mean, the sun's shining on your building. You're going to arrest them for that?
Yeah, only Commissioner Gordon can use the bat, the bat light, apparently.
Well, where is Batman? Let's go ahead and talk to Chase in Texas. Welcome to the airwaves.
Well, thank you, sir. It's been a while, and I'm glad to be hearing you on 1300 out of Beaumont, Texas, sir. It sure is good to hear y'all with the truth here.
That's right. You're listening on KSET 1300. I never plug stations like I should. Everybody in Beaumont, I got family from Beaumont on my grandmother's side and my mom's side. Everybody in Beaumont needs to spread the word that we're on there. God bless that station. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, sir. And in my younger misguided youth, I was very overzealous at the top, I think, at first, as far as calling in a little over the top and pushing this. So my question for Mr. Madsen is if saying these things and doing that, obviously you're going to be on the list, and kind of like what John Hancock said, I want my name at the top of the list, though I don't want to die. I love life. I'm a Christian. where do you stand as far as if you call in one time on Washington Journal, on any of these shows, and they kind of do they rat hole you into an area where we'll save this person for another day, or he fits into this?
I mean, what you do is you say, I'm an American, I'm a liberty lover, I'm a constitutionalist, and they want to call you independent, liberal, conservative. Just say, I'm liberal, because Thomas Jefferson was a liberal. Well, these terms mean nothing now. Just say whatever gets you on the air. I mean, don't lie, but just say, oh, I'm a liberal, because a real liberal would be against all this tyranny.
Yes.
Or I'm a conservative. I want to conserve the old liberal values that made this country so great. It was liberal to own a gun. It was liberal to own your own property. It was liberal to be free. The liberal means more freedom, not less freedom. See, they've stolen all these terms. And God bless you, sir. Good to have you listening there in Beaumont, Texas. What do you call yourself, Wayne?
I consider myself pretty much a populist. I look at FDR as a good president. I think he helped the people in this country when the people needed. Now we can argue about what he knew about Pearl Harbor and all that, but let's look. He never lived long enough to get the second New Deal. And there was a lot of good things in there. We wouldn't be having these discussions.
You can argue good and bad and all that, but anything they take that's collectivist will end up making people dependent. But I get your point. At least he broke up the big banks and didn't let them.
He broke up the big banks.
Do the derivatives.
Teddy Roosevelt, who was a Republican, his cousin, broke up the monopolies. I mean, these are the people we should be highlighting.
Well, it's not good for business to let monopolies run things, or Mexico's got monopolies. Yeah. Do we want to live like that?
Yeah. I mean, I look at Dwight Eisenhower as a great president, the things he was able to do. He kept us out of war. He got us.
Now, why doesn't he get credit for the Civil Rights Act and all that?
Because, you know, there were people that back then calling Eisenhower a pinko, you know. I mean, and then, you know, Jack Kennedy didn't live long enough to do the things he wanted to do. And then we got our first really corrupt presidents, Lyndon Johnson, followed by Nixon. By the time Ford was a placeholder, he was a yes man.
Absolutely. Let's jam in.
Poor Jimmy Carter tried, and, you know, they set him up with the Iran hostage thing.
Let's go to Alex in Illinois. You're on the air with Wayne Madsen. Go ahead with your question, sir.
Party on, Wayne. Party on, Alex. Yeah, I was wondering if Wayne could elaborate on NSA/DARPA/CIA brain scan MRIs, like a truth machine.
Yeah, well, what these are is quack frauds, just like lie detectors. And they now have passive brain scanners at some airports. People think that's crazy. Look it up. I think 5 airports have it in the U.S. last time I checked. Then they claim, oh, brain waves show you're agitated. And like, yeah, I'm late. Yeah, I got an ulcer. I mean, you know, it's like, you're sweating. Well, yeah, it's hot in here.
Look, go back and look at any science fiction movie, and I guarantee you some part of the U.S. intelligence community is working on that technology. And it's in the New York Times today that they've created the prototype Terminator robot called Atlas. It's a scary-looking thing. It's huge.
Yeah, will you guys print the Terminator killer robot for me? Well, I was told by Marines 14 years ago that about that robot. They've got a whole bunch of them.
Right. And
listen, my grandfather sold a prototype riot control. It was remote control, had these big arms with cattle prods on it, and they only got their money back. They sold that to the Pentagon.
Yeah, it's like the movie Minority Report, where they let these little nano insects, robotic insects, go into people's homes and spy on them.
They already have that.
They have that. They have that.
They had it when that came out.
They crawl, they fly, they go underwater. They can do all that stuff.
Yeah, and Atlas is nothing. The real weapons platforms are big armored tanks, the mini tanks that have like 10 guns on them, nerve gas, you name it. And those things are autonomous.
Yeah, you look at this and you think of Charlton Heston at the final scene of Planet of the Apes. Damn them all to hell, they finally did it, you know?
Yeah, exactly. All a bunch of control freaks. Hey, listen, Wayne, we're going to have you on tonight for the Obama deception, too. God bless you. We've got James O'Keefe coming up. Well, the jackboot killer of many American liberties has announced she's sayonara, fait complete. She's going to scurry off to California to the sinking wreckage of their educational system out there under their commie takeover. Big sis, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe she just have to wear a Hannibal Lecter mask, not a muzzle, so that she doesn't try to chew up everybody's liberties. I don't know. Hey, listen, I read this book. It's got a nice little acknowledgement to yours truly. Stroke of the ego. No, I'm just joking. I mean, there is an acknowledgement. But, Obama Deception 2, I'm going to give these guys credit. as a blueprint, as a model of true investigative journalism and people that deserve the Pulitzer Prize. The Project Veritas founder and head, James O'Keefe, has written Breakthrough, Our Guerrilla War to Expose Fraud and Save Democracy. And it is a page-turner, folks. I read this in 2 nights, and I don't have a lot of time to be reading at night because I'm busy mainly reading news. You go through it, and it's just got, you know, how they did it, what they did, how to be an investigative journalist. Everybody asks me, how do I do this? How do I do that? These guys know what they're doing. And just think of all, brought down ACORN, billions of dollars of taxpayer money a year, a mafia organization. Brought them down, brought down so much more, got arrested, got set up, still beat it by the grace of God. I mean, this, if people actually did what is in this book, we're going to talk more about the book in a moment. I want to get a little bit into the latest on the case, and we're going to be following it all weekend and next week with the verdict and then the calls for rioting and all the rest of it. But what people are saying about the book, upstart James O'Keefe has dealt a major blow to the establishment. George Stephanopoulos. Go watch the video. It's enlightening. It's enraging. Governor Chris Christie. It just goes on and on. President Obama responds to it. It goes Dennis Miller, Jon Stewart, Andrew Breitbart. And guys, you could do this too. People always call me, I got an idea for you to do this or that. I'm like, you do it. I'm telling you, folks, you do it. And the book is available at InfoWarsStore.com and bookstores everywhere, but get it at InfoWarsStore.com so we get a little bit of support as well. James, I've really got to salute you. Not only are you a first-class, should-be Pulitzer Prize winner, Edward R. Murrow winner, of course you're not, said you get thrown in jail cells, but I mean, you are the model, you and your organization, of what's going to save this country, and good job putting this this master workout. I pray that everybody get the book, and grandparents out there, get it and give it to your college student grandkids. So, because they're not going to ever have a career or job in this country now. Maybe they can go out and try to save the country with it being a citizen journalist. Mr. O'Keefe, how's the book doing? I hear it's selling pretty well.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. The Breakthrough is a New York Times bestseller. It's gotten all positive reviews, and like you said, it was sort of a David versus Goliath struggle, asymmetrical warfare we have to fight to subvert a complacent media and a corrupt government. I have been targeted in every way you could possibly imagine, and I've survived. From prosecutions to indictments to potential indictments to the Department of Justice trying to criminalize the First Amendment. Everything, this book is more like a thriller than it is an actual political book, but it's all true. And it's a fascinating story, and it's a hopeful story because, you know, like you said, if you just don't give up, you just keep going, keep fighting, you can actually break through.
Well, Jim Garrison said that. They said, why are you still alive? And he said, because I'm in the spotlight. And when they persecute me and lie about me and try to set me up, it gives me even more energy to fight them, and it's actually exciting. It's not scary. Is that the experience you've had?
Well, I think you're right. I think if you're in the spotlight, if you're in the public realm, it's less likely they're going to do something to you. And we have sort of, they've run out of arrows in their quiver, so to speak. But, I mean, this book takes you in the trenches. It shows you that the Department of Justice, instead of working in Massachusetts, they were trying to track me down, the FBI. A federal judge deleted evidence. I have had defamation lawsuits settled. I've used the proceeds of those defamation lawsuits to fund more investigations. It's really incredible what you can accomplish if you just focus on the truth. And we call it Veritas, Latin for truth, cinema verite, exposing things for what they really are. And there's really no way around it. But I think at this point, the good news is that we've gotten to such a position of prominence in the public spotlight that I don't think they'll be able to shut us down now.
You are incredible. And again, you've gone through the storm. I'm sure there'll be more that come. But as you said, in a way, you and others, we're starting to break them. They want to demoralize us. We're demoralizing them with the truth. And they're beginning to dawn on them as their viewers collapse, as their poll numbers collapse, that this is only the beginning. No amount of 2 billion bullets or brainwashing or race war is going to help them. Liberty is rising. And in that fist, smashing the tyrant, Hydra's in the head, a big part of that fist is James O'Keefe, founder of Project Veritas. Breakthrough, available at InfoWarsStore.com. Long segment coming up. We're going to get into the Zimmerman case, we're going to get into all of it straight ahead. James O'Keefe, somebody fighting for all of us, has put out the amazing book that is a thriller, and it's non-fiction, ladies and gentlemen. And for me, is really a how-to book to be a real investigative journalist and how to change history. Because the globalists and their forces are so corrupt. If you just point out what they're doing is wrong when they're on MSNBC in promos saying, your children don't belong to you, they belong to the state. Or, you know, when they're on TV saying, we now have an app out to report all gun owners and put them in a database for the public. And then people get sued over that, like when newspapers publish, you know, where gun owners live. I mean, it's time to stop groveling to these people. You pick a target politically, do the right thing, stand up for yourself. The evil will collapse. Thomas Jefferson said, all that evil men and tyrants need to flourish is that good men and women do nothing. The book, Breakthrough, Our Guerrilla War to Expose Fraud and Save Democracy, James O'Keefe. It is an absolute tour de force, ladies and gentlemen, and you need to get it at InfoWarsStore.com, and you need to give it to friends and family, and you need to let them know that this fight is going on, because anytime I see people start standing up and start questioning, even if it's your city council with local stuff going on, you start getting big results. And at first they act all powerful and all arrogant. But after a couple years, if you just start once a month going out, videotaping something, doing something, you will wreck them. That's why they laugh and act arrogant. They don't laugh later. They squeal, ladies and gentlemen. And, I mean, I'm describing what I've been through. You've seen what James O'Keefe has done. Really, I've told my reporters. That's why I hired reporters. I said, do stuff like Veritas. Let's start. We already do some of this, but I said, let's get really aggressive. And again, you don't have to get to this level of, like, you know, NFL dream team, you know, NFL Super Bowl level of this right away. In fact, you probably never will. Maybe you don't want to. That's when it gets dangerous. The little stuff is easy and not dangerous. So get the book, InfoWarsStore.com. Talk about some of the stories in the book. Talk about, then tie it in currently, you know, to what you see the Obamanoids doing, talking about criminal charges against News Corp and Rupert Murdoch in the U.S. Over reporters talking to cops in England.
Yeah, Alex, this is sort of the mainstreaming of the criminalization of journalism. People thought I was crazy a couple of years ago when I talked about how the Department of Justice was leaking my emails. People thought I was nuts. In fact, now with the new scandals, everyone believes me. We had reason to believe that the U.S. Attorney's Office in Louisiana was leaking my emails. Now we see Glenn Greenwald. You have David Gregory on NBC News talking about how he's aiding and abetting a source. I mean, they're literally, the establishment people are calling for the criminalization of news reporting. And while I have been on the front lines, I have been on the absolute front lines of this. I had agents come to my house for 3 years, federal agents harassing my family. I had them almost raid the home of one of my colleagues for exposing voter fraud in the state of New Hampshire, even though our expose showing dead people voting led to the state passing a voter identification law. So we have been on the front lines as citizens, and at this turning point in our country, we have to establish, the left and the right have to come together on the First Amendment. And I don't see that happening. I see a rift. I see some people being protected. I see the Department of Justice protecting certain journalists and prosecuting other journalists based on the information they expose. In this book, there's so many stories. I mean, I don't even know where to begin. But it's all about that fight that I've had to fight.
You know, I want to play a clip here in a few minutes. What did you think of Hastings, and now that they won't release the report of what they did with his body? I've talked to the family. I've talked to his friends. The family's scared to come on air. I've talked to Staff Sergeant Biggs about, he said, I'm going into hiding. They're death threatening me. Biggest story ever. CIA. They're coming to all our houses. And the FBI lied. Now I've talked to people that went to the funeral. They were visited by the FBI. The FBI lied about visiting them. And then his car blows up. And then where's the so-called big left media? They're making fun of anybody that questions his death. And I mean, it's pretty much open and shut. It was a car bomb from what I've seen.
Well, what interests me about Hastings, I'm glad you brought him up, is that I was reading a little bit about looking into him, because I think toward the end of his life, Michael Hastings had a little bit of an awakening about our media. And he gave an interview with, I think it was Chen Unger. I don't know where, I saw it on YouTube. And he was saying that he had to leave Newsweek because in Newsweek his hands were tied. He said he had to go into the wilderness, as he called it. He had to become independent. He had to branch out and freelance, right, for Rolling Stone, which is a little more of a rag than Newsweek was. And I see it all over the media. I see reporters, they have to be independent in order to get the truth out. They have to branch out and leave these established papers with big salaries. He was talking about his editors wouldn't let him do what he wanted to do. And I think this is unfortunately where we are. We have to be independent people. We have to take it upon ourselves. Now, what does that mean? It means that the First Amendment needs to protect the people who become independent. In fact, these established groups, they're not even doing journalism anymore. So it's really shocking to see the Justice Department, protecting the guy who bugged McConnell, who committed a felony taped him through a wall. He's considered a journalist. Daniel Ellsberg is considered a hero, and all these other people are considered heroes. But now the citizens who actually do the journalism are prosecuted. And by the way, next week I'll be releasing a video. I actually confronted the corrupt United States attorneys who prosecuted me, and you will not believe what they did in response. Unbelievable footage. It's coming next week at Project Veritas.
Well, the clip we played a few weeks ago, Hastings said they've declared war on journalists, they've declared war on liberty, and it's time that the journalists stand together and just release everything this corrupt government's doing. And I think that scared him because he was a leader. And I just can't believe, other than some TV stations in L.A. and San Diego, none of them are saying there's a cover-up, this should be investigated.
Well, I mean, like I said, I think Hastings was having a little bit of an awakening towards the end of his life. I think there's a false dichotomy on the left and the right. I think Hastings was kind of seeing that false dichotomy a little bit, that I think we all need to come together and support the First Amendment. Alex, there's stories in this book, Breakthrough, where I was researching all types of things the last 3 years. I wasn't allowed to travel. The government would not let me travel over a misdemeanor crime I didn't even commit. So I was in the library in New Jersey investigating the National Education Association, and the librarian came up to me and said, "Now, what are you doing here?" I said, "Well, I'm a reporter. I'm investigating, voter fraud in the Education Association." And she said, "Why are you doing that?" No, you can't do that. So I discovered that I'm always behind enemy lines.
Oh, I know. I don't call these people liberals. And again, I'm a constitutional libertarian, but obviously Republicans talk more like I like. Sovereignty, family, anti-abortion, pro-life, things like that. But of course, then they sell us out because they're part of the same power structure. But the Democrats, even their rank and file, the old well-meaning liberals now know Democrats are bad and are awake and are more of like a libertarian liberal. But those that are still behind it think they're part of like an authoritarian club, and they'll come over to our reporters in Austin and go, when they were just talking to somebody on the street, a woman in a suit interviewing people, and go, "I don't think you're allowed to be on the street interviewing. I'm calling the police." And then the police come. I mean, they call the police on us when we're handing out magazines, and the cops come and go, "Yeah, you can't do that. It's upsetting people."
I think it's censorship. I think there's a distinction. I'm glad you brought this up. I think there's because I've spent much time thinking about this because it affected me in a very personal way. There's a difference between criticism and censorship. And what I see is sometimes I describe this in Breakthrough, liberalism is yielding to fascism. And there is a distinct difference between wanting to silence people and shut down information and have a conversation about what that information means. In my case, they want to shut me down. They want to censor me.
No, that's what I'm saying, is that they're authoritarians, and they'll laugh at me and say, "Yeah, I know, we're taking over." It's like Democrats now don't care if Obama kills, bombs, or even rips them off. It's like they feel like they're part of an evil team. I mean, it's like when you went in all the ACORN offices, they're like, "You got child sex slaves or whatever? You got underage prostitutes? Bring them on." I mean, it's scary that the rank and you get my point. I mean, have you picked up on the average Democrat being like a criminal?
Well, I mean, I see the Department of Justice is like I said, protecting the guy who planted a listening device through a wall, which maybe you argue that's justified. It's still a felony, and they're protecting him, and they're prosecuting my colleagues who did nothing illegal. So I've lived it. I have lived it. I see the censorship. I want the left and the right to come together on this issue. I think it's possible for the left and the right to come together on this issue of we should not support censorship. But I see these people, and this is what they say to me. They say, Alex, you shouldn't be investigating ACORN. You should not be investigating election fraud. You should not be doing, because these are good things. You don't want to go after good organizations. And it's the moral statement that you shouldn't be doing something because you're investigating good people. And
it's like we're doing bad things because we're good. Did you see? I think they signed the law yesterday. Will you guys try to pull it up if you can? Where 5 non-citizens at one time can run the polling places. They passed laws so non-citizens can run the polling places and probably vote over and over again in California. Did you see that?
I didn't see that news item. No.
I'll pull it up. It's so insane. I covered it yesterday, but yeah, no, California. I think the headline was passes law where immigrants can run polling places. It really is crazy. I want to play you this Hastings clip. This is about a week before he died with the Young Turks, and I've checked it. Sink Igor, or whatever his name is, Unger. How do you say it?
Yes.
Unger. He's been on the show before. Yeah. I think he's a funny guy. But the whole, I wasn't missing his name on purpose is my point, folks. I'm babbling here. But, you know, I don't think he's come out and said it should be investigated. He broke down and cried for his friend, but won't dare say it's suspicious because, oh, the government never does anything wrong. Let's play this clip. Here it is.
The Obama administration has clearly declared war on the press. It's declared war on investigative journalists, our sources. I think the only recourse to this kind of behavior by the government is to say back to the government, we declare war on you, and from this point forward, we should no longer, as a media as a whole, cooperate in any manner with the government in terms of when we're doing national security stories. We should withdraw all our cooperation, and we should publish everything we know because it's a free press. It's not a free except for when the government tells me to do it press. And we've been way too easygoing with these guys. We've let them get away with this for years. We've let them tell us what to print, what not to print. And I say be done with it, and everybody should just get together and fire back because no one else is going to defend the press.
All right, and that's Sink Unger. I can hardly pronounce my own name, folks. I'm sorry. But, I mean, Sink. In fact, I want to get him on the show again. Last time I couldn't go on his show, so maybe he's mad at me. But try to get him on the show. He's always asked short notice. I mean, where are you? Where is Current TV, I guess owned by Al Jazeera, on this very suspicious death of this journalist? Again, what do you think of what Hastings just said from the grave?
Well, I think Hastings' writings, like I said to you before, he was having an awakening. You have to go through a lot of cognitive dissonance to do that. I also think that Hastings was disillusioned by what he saw as his press corps, like Newsweek, which he worked for before, his hands was tied. They were not allowing him to print the stuff he wanted to print. He said he had to go out into the wilderness, as he put it, and go completely independent. And, you know, he talked about a war. You know, I confronted the U.S. attorney who prosecuted me the other day, and this guy screamed that he lost control of himself. He called the sheriff. He wanted to put me in jail. They're drunk with power. They're drunk with power, and they want to use that power to shut people down. And we have to stand together. I mean, we have to do.
Exactly. Is that the video that's coming out next week?
Yeah. This guy. It's all on tape. He lost. This is a former United States attorney who resigned for corruption related issues in Louisiana. And I confronted him with my book. I said, "Sir, why did you do what you did?" I just asked him a simple question. I was very kind. I was very nice. I said, "Yeah, here's a copy of my book. I'd like you to see it, and I want you to give you I want to give you a chance to respond to what you've done. You took 3 years of my life from me. Your leadership team engaged in corrupt activities. We have reason to believe you were leaking my emails. Why did you do it?" And he lost control of himself.
Can't wait to see that. Well, listen, I went and walked around on July 4th in downtown Austin on the hike and bike trail, and I was shooting short little videos over the pedestrian walk bridge. And later I noticed the man and woman that confronted me were like 30-plus feet away, couldn't even hear me. I was being low-voiced, you know, just saying, and here you have this in the public, blah, blah, blah. So I turned my camera off, go back to walking, and then jogging, because I was jogging and walking and talking to people and doing reports. And the woman goes, "Shut up with your brainwashing." She looked like she was about a 45-year-old Hispanic woman, and it looked like she was with her husband, who was like a white guy, looked like a government bureaucrat type. And I said, excuse me? She said, you know, shut up with your brainwashing. And I was like, well, what am I brainwashing? And her husband goes, get out of here, buddy. And I went, wait a minute. I'm just walking by. You just said that to me. And later I saw in the video, earlier video, they were down looking at me. Couldn't even hear me, but knew who I was. And he goes, get out of here. And I went, hey, I bet your wife can't, back up why I'm a brainwasher. Ma'am, tell me why I'm a brainwasher. And I wasn't even taping. I wasn't being confrontational. He gets up and he goes, I told you, get out of here. And I said, well, actually, I was going to keep going, but now I'm going to just stand here. And I stood and put my hands on the railing, looking over the bridge. I said, I'm not going to let you tell me what to do. But I'm telling you, because she was wearing like a Democratic Party hat. That's how I know. These were Obama people. And I'm telling you, conservatives, if they hear you saying something they don't agree with, they might say something, but then they're going to debate you. And when I run into these Democrats, they will tell me, shut up. They think I need to shut up. And now you see the persecution of the press by Obama. It shows these are authoritarian creeps.
Yes, I think, and now people are starting to begin to see. They're starting to begin to see how bad it is, and that's the fight that I've had to fight, Alex, for the last couple of years of my life, just to get people to agree on the fundamental idea that there shouldn't be the censorship of the press. And what's shocking to me is the Fourth Estate wants censorship of the free press. They don't like, we call it cinema verite, the full raw video. They don't want you to see the full raw tape because they want to package stories for you and shove those narratives down your throat. I just want people to have all the information. I trust the American people. If they have the information, they can make the best decision for themselves.
If you walked into my housing assistance private business and said, I want to run underage whores into America, I would say, oh, wait right here. I'd walk in my office and call the police.
Well, I got sued for privacy on that because I filmed the ACORN employees, and some of them sued me for not being allowed to tape them. The conversation became not what we exposed, but the tactics we use to expose it. That's what they're doing with Edward Snowden. They're making the conversation about him and not what the information is actually exposed. This is the diversion. This is the obfuscation that the Fourth Estate uses, and you need to learn how to break through that.
Well, people need to support you. You've been through hell, but come to the other side and are the model of perseverance. George Washington, for almost 8 years, fought against tyranny, lost almost every battle, but persevered and defeated the greatest empire in the world. No one had defeated. We'll defeat the New World Order with perseverance in the Info War. Get Breakthrough at Infowars Store today. Folks, 1 year of funding in a stimulus bill for ACORN was $5 billion. $5 billion. That's even big to the globalists, and that's what Project Veritas shot down. We've been putting their website up on television for people. We'll put it back up there, and I'll give it verbally to all the radio listeners. But pray for James O'Keefe and the rest of his team. Pray for us as well. Because let me tell you, they're killing a lot of journalists. They're setting people up. They've been coming after this guy. They've been raiding him, you name it. If people don't buy his book, if people don't support him and what they're going through, talking to him off air, struggling financially. This guy shouldn't be struggling financially, breaking some of the biggest stories the last decade. He should be rolling in war bonds. When you buy stuff at InfoWarsStore.com, we also carry the best products, the best seeds, the best water filters, the best magazines, books, videos. When you do that, we are in a war. That's what he says in the book. It is, folks. This is a war. I mean, James, let me tell you, if anybody, and I'm not trying to creep you out, if they're going to kill anybody, and I know you're so out in the open, that's why they have it, but let me tell you, these are gangsters. I know people bring that up to you. Let me ask you the question. Are you worried about a hit team? And do you want to say on air you'll never commit suicide, or if your car blows up, you want an investigation?
No, I'll never commit suicide. I mean, I believe very strongly in the power of what we do, and I believe it's the way that we can change things, and you know, I believe that that what I'm doing is right and important, and it's going to be the way that we're going to reclaim our power as citizens. And now I don't worry about the hit team because I'm a Christian, and I believe in I try to emulate the notion of giving up your life for something greater than yourself. That's something I tried to live up to.
Did you find when you mentally pass a line when you're all over international news and you're getting threats and they're indicting you and all this other stuff? Did you cross a line where you committed and went through fear, or was the fear never there? Because I found as soon as I went through the almost the selfishness of let me have a long, good life, that the world opened up to me. Like I got smarter as soon as I manned up.
You know, I have been afraid at times. I usually am afraid of things that most people don't realize, like when you're sitting in a federal jail cell and, you know, a judge destroys your evidence. Yeah, you're scared to death. I mean, it's the biggest perversion of justice ever. You have no defense. You have no defense. No last line of defense when a judge destroys your videotape. I mean, that happened to me. It's a matter of public record. You can look it up. And I was very afraid. But the good news is there are so many people out there who support you, and they send you letters and they send you emails, and that's what keeps you going at these events when people thank me, and that's really what keeps me going.
Unbelievable. Folks, I mean, I've lived some of what this guy's lived through, and they've really come after him. I mean, let me tell you something, folks. If I ever shot down a $5 billion operation, they'd probably kill me. I mean, I'm not trying to bring this up. I know a lot of people they've killed, and that's why I admire people like James O'Keefe and the rest of your team. Here at the end of this hour, the book recognizes them. Let's recognize some of the other people at the project that you're running, the Veritas Project, and let's have everybody pray for them as well once the show ends today. Recognize some of those folks.
Yeah, people like Lila Rose, Hannah Giles, Sean Adlai, my friend who posed as the member of the fundamentalist Muslim Brotherhood, Simon Templar, my colleagues who did the voter fraud work, John Buckley, Sean Murphy, some of these guerrilla intrepid journalists who've been in the shadows and who haven't come out because, you know, the guy, one of my friends, Spencer, had his home almost raided by the Department of Justice. The guy by the way, I can't make this up, just not to make a lighthearted comment, but the guy in the New Hampshire Department of Justice who raided the home of my colleague for exposing voter fraud, his name was Richard Head, like Dickhead. This is the guy's actual name in the state of New Hampshire. I confronted Richard Head. It's on YouTube. It's got like 50,000 views. I can't make this stuff up, Alex. It's really more of like a...
Hold on, let me do... I know you got to go to another interview. Let's do 5 more minutes overdrive so you can finish up. Folks, pray. Let's all pray during this break for Project Veritas. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back live into Overdrive. I'll continue into the next segment to give you the latest news on the Trayvon Martin Zimmerman train wreck that could turn into race riots around this country. I'm not saying it is, but people on the new Black Panther Party are calling for it, and it could be a replay of the L.A. riots. We got some footage of that we're going to play the next segment. I'll describe it for radio listeners, but you all remember it. James O'Keefe's our guest. He's coming to Texas next week for an interview. Who knows, we might go up wherever he's at. Do you not know where it is in Texas yet, James?
Honestly, there's so many interviews next week. I have to figure out where it is.
I understand. TheProjectVeritas.org, is that the best main site to visit?
It's easier. Just go to ProjectVeritas.com. They all direct to the same place, ProjectVeritas.com. You can make a donation or buy our book there as well.
But TheProjectVeritas.org goes to the same place?
Yep.
Okay,
yep,
fantastic. Want to make sure I'm putting the right one out. Fantastic. Breakthrough, our guerrilla war to expose fraud and save democracy. In the last 3 minutes we've got in this short segment, other points you'd like to add?
Well, I think you know, there's rules, there's lessons in this book, Breakthrough. There's 39 Veritas rules, as I call them, shortcuts for the would-be entrepreneurial citizen reporter. And I think you should use the power of video. I think it's the most effective medium. I think that the only way we have to reclaim our power from our elected representatives, and people say, James, why did you call this book Save the Republic? And we are a constitutional republic. I acknowledge that. But really what this is about is bringing power back to the people through information, through sunlight. They are extraordinary mechanisms built in to prevent us from reclaiming that power. And the only remaining way, I don't think it's even through voting anymore. I think the only remaining way we can reclaim our power as citizens in this democratic republic is through exposing the fraud. When you expose the fraud, you bring the left and the right together. There's the false dichotomy breaks down, and people realize just how broken this system is. And you don't take my word for it. You can look at the results of our work. 6 states changed their laws. People resigned just 2 weeks ago. We released an investigation into the federally subsidized Lifeline program where they're giving out free phones. Those phones were sold for drugs. They fired the workers. They're retraining the whole program. We get results. We get actual results, and we get the federal government to respond to us.
Who inspired you as a journalist?
Well, we had a lot of inspirations. One of them might shock you, actually. I read Saul Alinsky, and let me be clear, I'm not endorsing everything that Saul Alinsky said, but I read him and I understood kind of where they're coming from, and I understood what the tactics they use and how they make their adversaries live up to their own principles. They expose hypocrisy. So I was inspired to expose hypocrisy on my college campus, being around professors, and they were telling me, you can't say this, you can't say that. It's offensive to say things, and they were expelling people.
And really, they're just authoritarian scumbag bullies.
Right, but I used that against them. I created a video. I said I was going to ban Lucky Charms, the breakfast cereal, on the grounds it was racist against Irish people. Myself being an Irish American, and they took it seriously. They said they were going to remove Lucky Charms. So I threw it right back in their face, using their own Orwellian kind of silencing tactics, and it worked.
Yeah, that's like saying, let's get rid of Santa Claus, it's mean to Dutch people. Or let's get rid of saying the Redskins. That's like honorable warriors. It's like an honor. It's like the Vikings. It's making fun of Norse people. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. They were forced to choose between being ridiculous or being or being hypocrites. So it's really a beautiful thing, because we put people in situations or like the recent video we did with the guns that you talked about, where we asked people to put a sign on the lawn saying this home is proudly gun free. Either they do it, which is ridiculous, or they're hypocrites. They don't do
Absolutely. You're exposing. Obama says Africa can't have air conditioning, like $100 million plus per trip. Let me say bye to you during this break. I'm going to come back live with more news and breaking info. Get Breakthrough at InfoWarsStore.com or call 888-253-3139 today. Waging war on corruption. Crashing through the lies and disinformation. We're here live. Crank up this song for a moment. Does that make me crazy? Possibly. Yeah, I guess I'm crazy. Because I'm not going to be a slave. I'm not going to let people tell me I don't have free speech and henpeck me into submission. I'm going to get angry. I'm going to get focused. I'm going to get organized. And I'm going to go out and alert people all over the world to what's happening. And I'm going to wage war on corruption. You know why? Because it feels good. Who do you think you are? Crank it up. Bless your soul. You think you're in control? You really think you're in control? You're in control of nothing. Well, I think you're crazy. The tyrants want to control everything. But all they have to do is turn loose of the control and become humans. Become good, decent people and not be parasites. And we'll build a civilization that goes to the stars. And I know that's going to happen. But we have to inspire not just ourselves, but future generations. My heroes have always lived their lives out on a limb. All I remember is I want to be like them. You hear me getting all excited having James O'Keefe on? That guy goes through death threats, indictments, arrests, jail cells, attacks. He brings down empires of tyranny. That's the model. I get excited with people like We Are Change and Luke Radowski out there taking action, and I'm so honored that I inspired them. I can see all the things that I helped grow and foster, and it's not a power trip. It's the fact that it's exciting to know that humanity has a destiny, humanity has power, and that you have power. The song says it all. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to jam in a few phone calls that have been holding patiently and then hit some final news here on the live transmission. But if you go to drudgereport.com, it's got about the best wide spectrum coverage of what's happening with the whole situation there in Florida with the Zimmerman trial, Trayvon Martin debacle. And I got to tell you right now, I hope this is not the calm before the storm, and I hope people don't riot, and then the cops, tear gas and rubber bullet people, and then a big circus happens, and they use it for another excuse to lock down cities in the U.S. and then have free speech zones, which they're already announcing, and then it turns into, I saw the police chief from from Boston, who we know is covering up what really happened there, going, we need a unified system for all communications that the public can't hear. I mean, just total FEMA mouthpiece propaganda. Saw it on C-SPAN back there in the coffee room, back there in the kitchen about an hour ago. It's just a nonstop power grab going on. But Zimmerman defense makes final case. Be vigilant, diligent in deciding this. Trial live, broadcast nets, poised to pounce on verdict. Show judge has a long life as a Democrat. That's a bunch of different talk show hosts that have been out there. Limbaugh and Levin are saying that. Yeah, it's true. She's a big Democratic operative. Pressured by Obama administration. There's a lot of evidence to that. That's our article, Infowars.com. Levin Blass, she's obnoxious and pathetic. She's more than that. She's obstructing justice. She's tampering with the jury. She's done. No one's ever seen judges act like this. A pastor says Miami will be ground zero for riots and looting. Police readying First Amendment zones. He'll be the problem in Miami for looters. They've still got some Second Amendment in Miami. And what is the point of looting your city when it only destroys the economy? I mean, what's the point of burning your neighborhoods down? And you've got the new Black Panther Party saying unrest all over America if Zimmerman goes free. I mean, look, can there be a charge for Zimmerman doing something stupid, following somebody around with a gun? I mean, it's pretty clear he did that. But it's also clear that Trayvon bum rushed him. He wasn't a 12-year-old kid. He was a 17-year-old big guy and was pretty much beating him to death. So he had a right to shoot him. From the preponderance of evidence is that there isn't enough evidence to convict Zimmerman. You just don't convict somebody because people think it's too bad this happened. I mean, are there going to be riots that there are hundreds of black people killed every year in Chicago with blacks killing blacks? No, 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 no. It's all because it's a white guy, because NPR said he was white. And I'm sorry, Zimmerman doesn't even really look Hispanic to me. He looks like Kim Jong-un. So, I mean, is there going to be an attack on the... Is there a Korean community in Miami? Or in that area, or the surrounding area of Florida? And then the larger question, yeah, here's the article. People from the street have come up to me last night, and I've gotten emails going, what, the Justice Department ran it? Yeah, it's on record. The Justice Department admitted last year. Let's put the article back up. We'll give them the headline. Why did the Obama administration organize and manage protests against George Zimmerman? I guess he might look a little Hispanic, but he kind of looks like Filipino, which I guess is Spanish background, Asian background. I mean, I don't know. What does it even matter? He's a guy who, they had robberies in the area, and maybe there's a stereotype of a big black guy with a hoodie over his head walking around between things. And you think, I mean, I wouldn't see a black guy in a hoodie and think, oh my gosh, I'm being robbed. But there's that image in MTV and everything that's pushed that you might think that. I guess I'm hip enough to know people wear hoodies all over the place. People in my office, white people, black people, whatever, wear hoodies. Because I like to keep it so cold in the office. But so again, yes, I can get why people have been inflamed. But the inflaming is being used as a political diversion. And whenever they go to the jury, whenever it might be an hour, might be 2 days, I think they're going to deliberate a while. Just, you know, to try to make it look like they deliberated. I think you're going to get a not guilty. If there's any justice. Because, I mean, if there's any question that somebody didn't do something cold-bloodedly, then they should go free. I mean, he'll definitely get on an appeal. Is there going to be rioting 2 years from now with an appeal gets heard and everything? This is such a diversion. I mean, where is the new Black Panther Party talking about 40,000 people, most of them black, killed by al-Qaeda forces in Libya the last 3 years, hacked up with machetes? And the truth is they don't care. It's just political garbage to create division. And the new Black Panther Party, I've been to meetings and events that they've been at, I mean, really come off like just the dumbest, stupidest, FBI-handled, provocateur, flaming racist. Because I've gone and protested the Ku Klux Klan. Some of these clips are online. The full clips, Mike Hansen can't find them, are protesting them here in Austin and also out in Waco. And they threatened to kill me and stuff on the dais, and then the police would do nothing about it. But it's the same In fact, it's even more crazed than what I've seen with the Klan. And we're showing some LA riot stuff here. Maybe we can find Reginald Denny having his head beat in. Just some white guy driving a truck. Turned out he was a big liberal. And, you know, just, I mean, if I lived in LA and I was a black racist rioter, would I be smart enough to know most people that live in Los Angeles are total liberals? And who absolutely buy into the whole system? I mean, why would you just, here's a white guy, let's beat his head in with bricks. By the way, if I was a truck driver and people did that, it'd be like, oh, you're going to knock my windows out, you're going to assault me? Here, say hello to my little friend. I don't care what color you are. You're trying to kill me with a rock, you're going to get shot. That's what the Second Amendment's all about. But see, the globalists don't want us to have guns to be able to protect ourselves. They want martial law in place. Let's go to Jim. What a great political diversion from the NSA, the IRS scandal, all of it. What a great diversion from Benghazi. The Justice Department's trying to stir up here with that judge tampering with the jury. I think he'll be found not guilty. I think they'll buck the judge. But if he isn't, I think you're going to have some unrest. I don't think it's going to be huge. I hope it isn't. Let's talk to Jim in Florida. Jim, you're on the air.
Hello, Alex. You may be crazy, but I wonder if you're crazy enough to urge all your listeners to go to the NSA site and the FBI site, download the Freedom of Information Act form, fill it out, and mail it snail mail with a return receipt requested to those respective organizations.
Yeah, I've sent certified letters before and never even got a response. Under law, they're supposed to. In fact, I've told the crew, I want to hire one of those lawyers that does it, and I want my files from these scum, and then I'm going to sue them when they don't give them to me, because I want to read all the made-up stuff and informants and spies and all the rest of it. That's a good idea. Everybody should do FOIA request on have they been spied on their name. That's a good idea.
Yeah, their name, and from what I understand, the way you do it is you give them your Social Security number and your driver's license. So whatever they have under those particular files, they're supposed to give you. And if they don't, and if we get enough people who are declined, I would think we could file class action suits.
Well, we need to have class action suits over 4 years. They said we're going to have a secret CIA and make the government secret, but don't worry, there won't be any problems because you'll be able to do an open records request and we have to give it to you unless it's specially classified. And now they're classifying all their crimes and they're ignoring 4 years all the time because they're an out-of-control group of craven scum at the top. Most of the mid-level people aren't that bad, but they're still told to go out and do things that I know they statutorily can't do.
Absolutely. They do it all the time. But the other thing, too, is by sending, if we could get enough people to do this, and I'm going to be doing it because I've had an open file since the 60s when I was with the Special Forces, and we're not all like the ones that you talk about, Alex.
Oh, listen, anyway, I'll be honest with you. I have found the Special Forces and military period, I don't just say that, to be the most awake, best people that are out there. That's what I found because they're in it, they see it, they know it's not bull. It's like Staff Sergeant Biggs. He said, I was in it, I saw all the fraud. You know, as a Ranger, I mean, like 6 years, combat everywhere, you know, in armored vehicles blown up by IEDs. I find the military, and even police on average, are more awake than the general public. But there's so many bad ones as well, and they're trying to get the bad guys and promote them and trying to persecute people that won't do things that are illegal. I had a state agency come here before they said a routine audit. And I looked at the law and stuff. I could have even fought showing them the employee rolls just to make sure unemployment insurance, you know, was being properly paid or whatever. And we use a major payroll firm anyway, so it's all handled. And in the 3 years ago, they wanted an audit. It was just to see those records. Well, now the guy wanted to come here. It turned out he was a listener and knew who I was and said, I promise you're not being singled out. This is random. And I'm like, I had to get some stuff done before my accountant left. And so it was supposed to go an hour, and like 2 hours later, the guy's still there. He says he's listening. And so I go in there, and I was like, okay, well, she's got to leave in like 30 minutes. And he said, oh, actually, I've actually got everything I need now. But when he first got there, he had this sheet saying, we want your corporate minutes. We want your blah, blah, blah. And I statutorily had already checked it before I knew they were coming. They can't ask for all that. But he said, well, this is what my supervisor says I do now. Well, I mean, your supervisor next will probably ask to, you know, if they can do a proctology exam on my wife on the side of the highway. I mean, that's what the state police, I mean, can I walk up to a cop and say, you know, I want to stick my hand in your pants and into your body just to make sure there's not marijuana in there? The cop would freak out on me and probably should. Well, how do they pull you over and go, you know what? I'm going to search the car without a warrant, and I'm going to stick my hand in your body. And I'm going to go over here to another woman and use the same dirty glove. I mean, if I'd have been told that 10 years ago that could happen in Texas, I would have said, no way. No way. And it just shows how, I mean, they came here with a census and said, we're going to come after you if you don't fill out this business census. It's now yearly, which cost me $50,000 to answer those questions properly with accountants and people under penalty of perjury. I don't have the time for all this stuff. And I said, no, Fifth Amendment, send it back. So I think that's probably what's going on, too. And just Ted Anderson in Minnesota literally had to move his offices because the bureaucrats were harassing him. They said you can move in here. It's zoned for it. 4 years later, made him move. He lost, you know, like $500,000. And these bureaucrats just come in his office and just literally kick their feet up on the desk and just boss everybody around. Get me coffee. And they're there. They live there, the different agencies. But it's not just him up in Minnesota. It's every business. And again, not the average rank and file. They don't get it. But I'm telling you, even in Texas now, they want to shut down small operations. Big global groups know all the rules, all the regs. You walk in, they go, here's the card of our corporate staff. They do something wrong, grievances are filed. They don't go in the big buildings. They don't go over to Google. They don't go over to DynCorp downtown, probably trafficking kids through there. They do it internationally. No. They don't go to the Federal Reserve laundering drug money. They come to your office. And the mission is shut America down. I know I'm ranting, sir. Anything else you'd like to add?
Well, one thing I'd like to add, this off the National Security Agency subject is Big Sis was a classic Peter Principle lateral shift because she was creating too much trouble. So basically, all she's done is changed her hat from Heinrich Müller to Joseph Mengele and Werner Heisenberg, because the University of California has huge nuclear research labs as well as huge medical research labs.
Yeah, no, that's where all
with her in charge, you can imagine what kind of research you're going to be doing.
Oh, yeah, there's tens of billions of federal and state money going to those research facilities in California. You're right about that. You know your stuff. Oh, yeah, they're going to be sucking it dry, giving it to insiders. She's there to run a criminal operation. You can guarantee that. And they're smart to get rid of her because she did become a nice eyesore. So it's actually a good move by them. I thought they were really getting arrogant and was enjoying it. So I'm going to miss her. But don't worry, we're going to continue to follow her. Did you hear my joke or Wayne Madsen's joke about are they going to muzzle her around the students?
Yeah, that was hilarious.
From what I've heard, I think they actually have to. All right, thank you very much. God bless you. What a pig-like creature Big Janet is. And people say, man, you're really messing with... I just don't care anymore. I mean, I defile them. They are disgusting maggots. And I don't mean because of her sexual preferences. I mean the bullying, the thuggish lying, the Walmarts with announcements that look for terrorists. That's beyond 1984. And they put those only in a few hundred of the 800-plus Walmarts because people backlashed about going, watch everyone, hi, I'm Big Sis. That's real video from a Walmart in Minnesota. Speaking of the devil, Minnesota is probably one of the prettiest states I've been to. But let me tell you, the people are smart, they're friendly, they're nice, but they are submissive. And, I mean, just is there nothing Minnesota won't put up with? Hi, I'm Janet Napolitano, Secretary. That's her real voice. Let's play that intro clip video. Yeah, here it is.
Hi, I'm Janet Napolitano, Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security.
I'm injecting Diana Ball.
Homeland Security begins with hometown security.
Hi. I guess they even have her voice in the Walmart where it's like, oh, I'm going to listen to her. Hi, we have come to your planet to eat your brains. That's what I expected, like a flying saucer landed and aliens walked off with a microphone that Translated their voice, hello, Earthlings. We are here to take care of you. Trust no one but us. Your neighbors are all terrorists. George Washington is a pig. I am your mommy. William in New York, you're on the air. I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir.
Hey, what's going on, Alex? I just wanted to bring up something about Trayvon Martin. I had a little Instagram debate earlier today, and I don't understand. You know, they're talking about all these riots and stuff like that. But when Casey Anthony was acquitted, nobody mentioned anything about riots. When O.J. Simpson was acquitted, people actually stood in the street and cheered. And there's videos on YouTube of that. And I don't understand, you know, with the Black Panthers coming out and saying that there's going to be unrest all over the United States. People don't need to, you know, look at color. You know, African Americans, you know, they like to pull the race card. Every race does that, no matter what.
No, listen, I got a lot of crew, I'm around a lot of people. Everybody uses political correctness now at some level. I'm just completely sick of it. I want to be shown what people do, who they are, instead of what color their skin is.
Martin Luther King said, it's not it's the context of someone's character, not their skin color, and we only need to stand united. If Zimmerman's wrong, he's wrong. I personally don't feel that way. But I'm sure there's going to be people that, you know, will have their opinions. But if he's wrong, he's wrong. If he's right, he's right. People need to stand together as one color, not multiple. Sure.
Well, here's also what people don't get about jurisprudence and Magna Carta and our system of common law and the Bill of Rights and law. You've got to have the preponderance of evidence he's guilty. That's a high standard. If there's any doubt, you got to let him off. I think what he did wasn't that smart. But because there's all these witnesses that Trayvon was beating him up and putting his head in the ground, which the evidence shows, you've got to acquit. Now, you know, can they dig up something of a weapons deal that he was off his property with a gun? And, I mean, there's citizens arrest stuff. I think it was stupid, but I don't think you can send him to prison for it. And then people have got to understand that that's the way it is. I mean, if there was no witnesses that Trayvon was beating him up, he would get a murder charge. Probably even premeditated. It might be murder one. You know, he's a racist. He's going to go out and kill a black guy. I mean, I don't think that's what he is. Turns out one of his best friends is black. He's got all the Hispanic family. He goes by Jorge. I mean, you know, are there Hispanics that don't like black people? Yeah, I guess. But I mean, I got to be honest. I'm a white guy. Okay, I grew up in the so-called South Texas. I never heard about all this stuff. I just did not experience it. I've traveled in the North and actually heard more race stuff, but I think it's more of a joke. Like everybody does it to each other. And I think that's the answer to this, is just make it all a big joke, get over it, and just start getting back to being people. But they will use any type of disturbances to take more of our liberties and play the public off against the cops as well. It's more divide and conquer. Infowars Nightly News tonight, 7. And I will be live on the radio this Sunday, 4 to 6 p.m. Sorry to the other callers.